tired.
I'm due for the qualification this time. I'm making sure that this year's my year. I'll see you guys there. What's going on?
Hello? Okay, oh yeah, you guys hear me. Welcome to day 2 of the FNCS Major 1. So, I just want to let you guys know that I might be going AFK for a few of these because I have laundry that I need to do. So, hope you guys don't mind. Yeah. The first game of FNCS Day 2 is starting in around 14 minutes. Yeah. Also, shout out to Malabuka, who won FNCS on EU, which is amazing. Absolutely insane, mate. Oh. Yeah, let me bring up the leaderboard for you guys. Alright, so let me change. Let me check if you guys can see that. Okay, there we go. So, yesterday, during grand finals, top 10, we have Iamzo Rise with 320 points, 2 points ahead Cooper and Miro. Then we have Acorn Cold, Ritual and Reet, Peerbot and Pollo, Aviv, Booga, Baka and Pars, Clicks and Epic Whale, Sphinx and Pump, and Muzz and Paper. So those are your top 10. And pretty much anyone in the top 10 could win. And remember, there's a 2 day format, not 2 day format, a 1.5 multiplier format. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens. I should probably have my chat open. Alright, yeah, if they're ready, we got the chat open. We'll see. And we'll see what happens.
Got between both weeks combined. So the fact that they're able to pull that out in just a week showcases how incredible they are. But then during the semifinals, it seemed like they weren't able to find their footing. Within each day of the semifinals, they were able to improve, but I think a lot of us expected them to qualify between days 1 and 2 and not have to go all the way to day 3. But yesterday, we got to see Reet and Ritual from what we saw in the qualifiers, and I hope we get to see more of it today.
Yeah, they're going to really look to push this top end of the leaderboard, right? Everyone's thinking the same thing. I'm sorry, you said there's an Axe of Champions on the line? There's spots to the Global Championships on the line? Of course, we have to fight for that #1 spot. Another duo to highlight, Pollo. I mean, these guys are absolutely aggressive. They are looking for a moment like this when we suddenly say, hey, there's a new multiplier. Do you want to be more aggressive, Peterbot? What about you, Pollo? They're thinking, hey, we already have the sidearms ready to go. Let's do this.
Increasing the amount of points you get for an elimination while Peterbot and Pollo are in the lobby. Who decided that was a good idea? Oh my gosh, I'm sure we're going to see some insane swings from this duo. And I think, Kelly, we've said it time and time again, definitely the most mechanical duo basically in the entire world. And, you know, to boot as well, another duo that actually was able to pick up 2 victory royales yesterday. I'm hoping they follow suit. Our top 5 is so stacked.
Yeah, they were being conned at Ship It Station.
I still have my full faith on Reet winning this.
We all know how incredible they are mechanically. I just want to see them make it to the end game a little more.
Yeah, there's so much at stake here. Again, Axe of Champions, the Global Championships, and as well prize money. Let's take a look at the breakdown here for how this will all shake up. At the end of the day, the duo in that #1 spot, $140,000. And again, Axe of Champions, which is in itself an incredible trophy and accolade for the players in game, and Global Championship spots locked in on the Battle Bus later this year. I want to quickly talk about expectations with this new explosive format we're going to be seeing today. What do you think is something we will be seeing? Are duos going to look to be maybe a little bit more aggressive and try and take advantage of those points? Or you think maybe they're thinking, oh, we can't give away those points. We have to be more defensive and try and stay alive as long as possible?
Well, hey, Zeke, whatever their strategy is going to be, right, they're the professionals. We'll go ahead and leave it to them. I'm expecting to see some great battles between the teams that are already top 5. But, Kelly, with this format, as we saw over on EU, I'm expecting to see some big changes. Some teams that are in the bottom half of the leaderboard just flying up, coming into today with a new strategy that proves to be worthy of, you know, a top 10 or even a top 5 in some cases.
I could definitely expect some comebacks out of these teams, but also there's a lot of teams out here that have proven themselves to be day 2 teams. Iamzo and Rise, historically speaking, in Chapter 4, had a much better performance in day 2. Yeah. And actually, with the current meta, in Major 3, I believe, of Chapter 4, they would have actually won if the 1.5 multiplier was there. So they're already in first. Let's see if they can keep it going.
Well, I am excited to kick off the competition because today, champions will be crowned.
What makes a champion? A champion is someone who ain't afraid of the big stage. A champion is someone who stands tall against any opposition. A champion is someone who can do it not once, not twice, but 5 times. A champion isn't someone who never fails, but someone who never quits. A champion has an edge. They have ice in their veins. They can't be cracked. A champion is someone who can step away from the battle bus for 2 years and come back like they never left. Champions innovate. Champions inspire. Champions conquer the world. Again and again and again. Champions can do it when the lights are the brightest, and they can come from the shadows when you least expect it. Champions come from far and wide to show you how great they are. A champion's journey begins long before a title is won. But the grand finals is the road all champions must take to reach their destination. This is the place where they make it known. Are you ready? This is where champions are crowned.
And we get to pick up right where we left off, coming in hot here for the FNCS Grand Finals Day 2. It'll be, of course, Monster D-Face and the best Taco back on the mic. Taco, are you ready to pick up the pace here again?
All right.
Look, NDF, after witnessing the greatness that took place in EU earlier today, I have never been more excited, especially when you factor in, just as the analyst has told, our top 10 here today, it's going to be a lot of work to maintain it.
We talked a lot about how things worked for players yesterday, what all went right. However, we didn't really get to dive. There isn't enough time to dive into the adjustments. What will players do today as we start to come in? Who's going to have the better strategies here? For Baka and Pars, it seems like they're going straight to their trusty drop 50-50 and just go for it. Attack, as is Aaron and company. And for game one, Baka Pars a little bit sharper here as they managed to get the eliminations off the drop, which is fantastic for the pacing here for Baka Pars. Had they not actually been eliminated those two games, we'd see them very well also inside that top 5, which is a scary sight to think about how, again, contested teams, how well contested teams are playing today, Taco.
They did not get contested this time.
Probably one of my favorite parts about these two-day formats, MDF, is the fact that after the conclusion of day 1, whenever you actually take to socials and you start sifting through the things that everyone is saying, and the only message that seemed to be unanimously shared with all of our North American competitors is they just wanted to play here today. The excitement, the amount of tension that really started to develop, because it's like that moment where things sink in. You conclude game number 6, and then remember, you still have a fresh 6 to work with. But the point multiplier is what's really going to, I think, determine the actual pacing here today. We are seeing some teams trying to make those necessary adjustments, trying not to find themselves elim too early on, even if they are contested at their drops, like Day and Redux.
That's right. A win is going to mean even more, but an early elimination is going to hurt that much more as well. So pacing is going to be incredibly important here today. All in all, right now, Day and Redux have a lot of rethinking, recalibrating to do, as yesterday was not the performance that they were looking for. And right now, we're seeing a much better Day here, ending his battles fast and swift alongside Redux. And this is the type of movement we expected to see from them early on, and so far so good. So well played for Day and Redux as they pick up a nice set of eliminations. On the other side, Cold and Acorn pressing the gas pedal here as well up against Mason and NPen, and Mason's down. He's not even going to go for any type of trickery there, but get the full finish instead. Quickly wrapping up the battle, and NPen's just left running here. And let's not forget, Muzz and Paper are just to the north, so for a full-on head-to-head clash, this is a little bit uncharacteristic of Cold and Acorn's early drop as far as what we've seen so far.
But this is the result of Cold and Acorn. They recognize the fact Mason and NPen, they were actually the first duo to take the Society Medallion here at Fencing Fields. You can see Cold now with that Mythic Striker in his loadout. That's an unfortunate circumstance as well for NPen, because not only does he have to wait until Cold and Acorn are through digging into the vault, taking all the best loot, he's also just going to be super delayed in terms of trying to find a search strategy now, because when you're operating as a solo, you can't really afford to try and exchange damage this early on when the only focus you have is just recovering your teammate.
And with no eliminations, actually, Taco, what are the chances that they were winning the engagement, but the NPC got the last tag? It might have actually happened, because you did see there was an AI under the ramp, and I thought at first that was surely NPen, but no, it was just an AI. I believe they have been essentially bested by the AI for the knock. And they won't get the elimination credit early on, but they still do, of course, get to reap all the rewards and the benefits of
But that's
the
6
engagement either way.
points. 6 points farmed by the NPC
I think
instead
so.
of Cold. But that is, it's still tragic, but that's definitely an elim that Acorn and Cold are likely going to look to try and recover elsewhere.
Looks like
At the
they're
very
playing it
least,
safe
they
so
still
far.
managed to get their way into the vault. You see these teams now, Peterbot, Pollo, Reed Ritual, trying to prioritize these forecast towers, making sure to protect them as well, just getting set up super early on, because you have to anticipate that there's going to be at least one other team that's going to look to challenge some of our duos setting up base around these forecast towers.
Yeah, definitely. And Peterbot and Boyo, I like this little angle that Boyo's holding here, even waiting to put the ramp out. But unfortunately,
Looks
doesn't
like
get the
right
tags that he is
next
looking for. You can see
Rivera,
Peterbot's
I'm
position
assuming?
likely on the other side of
This
this
looks
mountain
like
as well,
Richie
just trying to
Rivera
hold
there
the
next to.
outskirts of the zone here.
Yeah,
So it's
I
not
think that's
it's not
Richie
just
Rivera
about getting, of course, the forecast tower, but it is equally important to continue to maintain your surge status here. And this is why they're getting active there on the outskirts. We jump onto the other side of Yamzo and Rise, and this is a very interesting situation here as they don't realize that there is a team inside the bush just above Rise. It's Edgy, it's Tavern. We've seen Edgy and Tavern play incredibly ready yesterday up against Acorn and everyone else here at the farms. And yep, you can see they're right in the same spot more or less, but they've been spotted out by another duo, and Rise should surely get all the information he needs here at this point.
And not just that, but I believe Yamzo maybe even saw some of the walls that were being placed by Edgy
All right,
and
I'll be
Tavern.
right back, chat.
The Bush not able to provide total coverage from that. So Rise definitely proceeding a little bit more cautiously here, but trying to collect some mats. At least has Max Brick now, just trying to prioritize some of that wood. But for teams to just stay so postured, so aware, and a team like Yamzo and Rise especially, when you factor in, this is their 5th FNCS Grands as a team, and the 4 that they've competed in together already, their placements have consistently been within the top 10. It's almost like you can tell that they're just trying to play this one out exactly how they did yesterday, because that's what resulted in them finding the first half of this Grands in that first place position, leading on the leaderboard today.
Well, one team that's not playing at all like they were yesterday is Day, as he picks up Quanti and Baila, whom, by the way, I'm fairly certain was doing pretty well pacing as far as their overall points were going yesterday. So for the 1.5x multiplier Day, teams like Day and Redux already turning online. It's going to show you how impactful it's going to be to their overall scoring. For Cooper and Miro, they're in a bit of a standoff, but look who's getting even more active. It's Clicks, Epic Whale, who's jumping right into it. This is I feel like a repeat clash up against the WTJ duo here at the Rebels Roost. This is one of the teams that Clicks and Epic have comfortably taken as far as fights have gone yesterday, and they do have the overall wins across this duo here. But no, Clicks and Epic, just like yesterday, not interested in sticking around over welcoming with their stay here. They get a couple tags. They don't get the elimination right away. They pretty much disengage.
Clicks and Epic have certainly had a tendency to kind of stray this way over towards Rebels Roost. Again, knowing that there is usually at least 1 or 2 other teams for them to try and find some of that surge tag damage on. But Clicks is right there with you, MDF. He recognizes the fact, hey, this is not an engagement. I need to force, and essentially we'll just back off. Don't know if he was able to really exchange many shots before we tapped into his perspective, but check back in later on to see how he's faring. Right now, Pars, Baka, they just want to confirm their cash, but they've got to deal with the likes of Peterbot and Pollo first. Builds definitely favoring Pars and Baka, though, given that they've already got that cash recovery going. Peterbot trying to do what he can to break into Pars' box, but it's Pars doing an excellent job just keeping him at bay. Baka, on the other hand, needs a little bit too much damage from Pollo, so temporary fall back. It's going to put Pars into the holding wall responsibility here. Another shot exchange. Peterbot Pollo definitely getting some very consistent surge damage online here. Even if they can't recover the cash, they might be able to find these eliminations instead. Pollo gonna apply some good pressure, but finally Baka with the response, pushing Pollo even further back. Peterbot now forced to resync with Pollo. They've got to utilize this Flowberry Fizz as a team. They both want their shields. You get a little bit of regen online.
Or in the 7th
But
CS at
Baka,
least.
Pars, that cash definitely helping them as far as trying to establish whether they want to go for a further engagement here. Peterbot and Pollo. Peterbot and Pollo are going to answer that for them. They're
What
just gonna create some
absolutely,
space.
I was going to say, what an absolutely intense fight between our 5th and 7th place duos going straight head to head. And not only that, no trickery involved. It was a clean, all out box fight. You saw that. This is a singular layer high. It wasn't 2 stories, wasn't anything extra. Just a clean, high level fight. You'd love to see it. Well, while this is all happening, there's plenty of action happening everywhere as well. Want to keep you completely dialed in. Take a look at how Rise and Yamzo are continuing to find themselves in the mix here. Yamzo jumping in. You have downed bodies of Bacon and TK here off to the side. Other teams fighting south the Ruin Reels, but they don't care. The grapple hook is going to allow them to close the distance, get their eliminations, get the finishes, and more importantly, set themselves up for success here. And Yamzo and Rise are that sleeper duo to keep an eye out on, as they have the most victory royales this weekend so far.
TK, though, probably kicking himself for that one. Not sure what led to the fall in the first place, but the fall damage is going to be what sparked that initial knock. And Yamzo and Rise, they're all for it. I mean, when you get a freebie elimination served up to you like that, MDF, don't know many teams that wouldn't look to try and follow up with even further pressure. Tough start to the day. Bacon and TK as well, just encountering some very unique struggles in their day 1 competition, but it's the mental fortitude, I think, at this point that could really be the ultimate separating factor between the top end of that leaderboard and the bottom half. And Muzz Paper, they're certainly not a team that's going to be content with their current 10th place standing. They want to pack a punch, and they want it to start here in game number 7. You can see Muzz, how adamant he's being, constantly scoping their area to see if there is a possibility for them to look for a little bit of follow-up. They can get even 1 tag online, a shield
like
crack.
a fortress.
That's all it takes for teams to feel comfortable with them trying to apply more pressure.
It's like Pump is shooting at someone.
Seen it time and time again. But for Pump and Sphinx right now, they have a bit of an issue right now. They've decided to kind of play this edge line. However, they're one of the only teams on the further side of it, and they have too many duos positioned inside the Ruin Wheels with arguably stronger positions here. So, not too sure if Pump and Sphinx are going to actually be able to get as active as they would like. And this is a 9th place duo, just ahead of Muzz and Paper. It's one of the few chances Pump might actually have to find a tag, and he doesn't hit it. They'll just be slipping behind. But back to Pars and Baka, the action doesn't stop here as they continue to fight for theirs. Polarized and Def don't want anything to do with this duo. I think they might have recognized the skill set behind Baka and Pars. Sometimes you can just tell, you know, this team is dangerous, and with how they fended off Peterbot earlier just a couple moments ago here at this exact spot, I wouldn't be surprised if Baka and Pars are playing above average or just about prime, right? As far as what we can expect for them.
Baka and Pars are essentially in a never-ending box fight, it feels like, with the lobby. Just every time we look at them, they are constantly being challenged, either for their position or just for that forecast tower, sometimes in the combat cache. But obviously here, leading into the 4th zone, Ritual and Reed saw how well they were able to establish their positioning in some of those end games with that forecast tower knowledge, but focus right now is going to be on Clix and Epic Whale. Whether or not Clix has been able to connect with some early sniper shots, as Vivid already called out earlier today. This man led in individual player damage on day 1 of Grands, and he's looking to try and do it again. spicing things up here between Cam and a Minish, but Clix just dancing back and forth between these wall holds. And Minish gonna eat some decent tags there. Mythic Frenzy just proving to be a little bit better in these kinds of close space circumstances, but Clix still trying to be wary. Doesn't want to find himself too split from Epic. He definitely wants to make sure that his duo can help support him in this circumstance.
Every single wall.
And I'm starting to wonder if whether or not they're disengages in the early game and picking up different fights with all types of other duos is attributing to the damage that he was able to lead with compared to other teams yesterday. But this right here, this seems like an all or nothing type situation. Other teams are now starting to look inwards. So this is not the cleanest battle, especially for someone like Clix and Epic Whale, who have been very strategic with what teams they decide to fight. Most of their 2v2s have been isolated. They've been unaffected by third parties, and they've been very deliberately chosen. However, with the pressure of the Storm Surge here, this one feels just a little bit different.
But on that note, Clix and Epic, even if they have that medallion to exchange and get their shield back up to full for the most part, Clix and Epic, they know that they've got at least two teams trying to hold them. Trying to use that crash pad to rotate out. Yamzo, on the other hand, Hound, Aiden, trying to do what they can, but it almost seems as if there's another team taking notice. No, it's actually just that surge
They're trying to get
damage
Surge off of them.
with the assist there for Iamzo and Rise, but still, another big collection piece for Iamzo and Rise. Just more points being added on to the total count.
We were just talking about, having to pick a fight with a duo. You want to be strategic. You want to be deliberate. Well, this time, Clix has no idea. This is Peterbot and Boyo. They're pushing here. Could be their worst nightmare. Could be the one duo that potentially slows them down. They do have to be careful here as Peterbot and Boyo perform exceptionally well in these types of situations. A very, very tenured box fight 2v2 type team. Let's see it though. They're going all in. They kind of have to. So Clix is likely making the call here. We have to do this. And they are putting on the pressure. Peterbot and Boyo recognizing that they don't have to rush into this. And they are slowly fighting on the back foot. And Epic Whale gets punished first as Peterbot counter fires with the SMG. It just does so much damage if you hit those headshots. And Clix putting up an incredibly great defense here as Peterbot is hurt, Boyo is hurt, and Clix successfully defends off in a 2v1 right now, continuing the pressure here. But he's got to save his teammate. And instead, Epic drops the mats for Clix. What is happening right here? So Clix is actually going to go for this fight here instead of playing for the pickup. Might be a fatal error, but the punishment is so good. And Clix does it again.
Clix is actually putting in so much work right now. Might have dealt just enough damage. Peterbot, Boyo, they've got to reconsider. This is no longer a battle they can stay active in. Clix with the revive of the century. Their game one extension that Clix just managed to buy for himself and Epic Whale is massive, because Epic should have been elim by rights there to Boyo and Peterbot had it not been for Clix. But you can see here in the replay, Peterbot, such a sick angle onto Epic. He's so focused on Boyo, loses track of the line of sight that Peterbot had while Epic was looking for that right side peek, and just really well played. But even better still was Clix, because at the end of the day, he came in for the rescue and it played off.
This is like an absolutely incredible situation to be in for Peterbot and Boyo, who have heavy mats, so they'll be able to like bounce back, but they don't have heals. But Cooper and Miro fall to Clix and Epic Whale, who, by the way, had no material, so they make another desperate play to jump in on a team. In fact, we get to watch that back one more time. Take a look at what happens here. They crash pad in. They see Cooper building. They see shots coming in, and right into the box. Clix gets inside, and then they push down Miro, who was in the bush next door. You just cannot prepare for that untimely demise of a duo landing on you, and Clix and Epic Whale have just completely shut
Dude, I don't think we're gonna see it. Come on. Do we not get to see it? Oh.
Solo.
Oh, we didn't get to see it. That's crazy though.
Still has to make it through the teams above and below him, though.
What's crazy about all this as well is that Yamzo and Rise just literally got all that pressure alleviated off of them. The pressure of having Cooper and Miro riding your tail, right? As far as the points are concerned. And for Peterbot and Boyo, I mean, they are in such a desperate situation right now that if they don't jump on a team immediately, they might not have a chance to do so later. So here it is. It's going to be all or nothing. Trashy gets chunked with a huge tag there, but Boyo gets white tagged as well. And if Peterbot can't find this elimination, I'm not sure if he ever will. But the server starts to turn in on Trashy, and I love that he just waits. He says, wait a second. Let everyone else do the work. All we have to do is get the material. That is what they need right now, is material, not necessarily the eliminations here. They need to stay alive for placement point more importantly, of course. Oh, but look, it's Yamzo and Rise right below them. It's just not going to get any easier.
It's such a familiar position, too, to see Yamzu and Rise trying to control the low ground. They will successfully manage to pick up the loot that they so desperately needed off of that elim, but at the same time, they still have to keep things moving, and it's not like it was an exorbitant amount of mats either. Peterbot and Pollo most certainly going on the hunt still to see if they can secure another elimination, another refresh, because that's what they still need more than anything else. And without Ritual, as a solo, trying to still pose a little bit of a threat here, just taking advantage of all the teams rotating ahead of him, getting some shots out or surge tag damage, but trying to be wary, kind of hanging towards that backside of the zone as well. Still gonna build up for height though, which is
he needs tags. Yeah, he's going for it. I absolutely respect it. And look, all of our top teams are just in so much trouble. Cold and Acorn now left as a solo once again. Cold here, looking like a repeat performance of yesterday, where Cold was left to try to clutch out an end game by himself, and luckily for him, he does have plenty to work with. While this was all happening, while he lost Acorn in this process, Cole did pick up 2 late game eliminations. Take a look at how that played out. It's for Tekka with a instant delete here from the flank. That legendary rifle doing so much damage here when it's a
what was that?
Set up and then someone lands in his bots. Oh my gosh. WTJ's higher gets melted immediately, and look at this, Taco. Now we're getting into endgame. This is where all those placement points start to add up.
There are so many solos running rampant right now. Cole, just another part of the tally count here, opens up his cone to find a massive shot onto Kanata. Kanata, though, wary of the fact that he had a player directly underneath him, will pause for a moment as Cole immediately grappling towards that front left side of zone.
After what happened yesterday.
Just trying to stay ahead of all the crowd, all the action. Still making sure to look back, though. Get some good damage applied. Forever Zone Wars correctly. Now finding themselves on the receiving end of Cold. And Cold, he's not going to let this go anytime soon. That's 1 elimination already. But it's actually going to be Skater who snipes that one away from Cold. What looked like another confirmed 6 points is now just going to result in a placement attempt.
The way Cold is putting down these players right now, I
this
mean,
dude is like right under.
it is looking like Cold is absolutely primed up right now. He's playing so well. And look, even going to go for the smart placement play here just to go ahead and hold it out. Really allow things to happen in front of him here. He's going to buy himself plenty of time. And somehow, Ree is still alive. Listen up. Don't forget, these are worth 1.5x placement points and eliminations as well. So every single moment and opportunity right now for every team that falls here, it is just so much more important.
Let's use
Reed's movement is incredible as he is parkouring back and forth here, editing this weakened structure here just to stay alive. And Cole too, as a solo, is holding on. The script cannot be written any differently right now. All of the teams that needed to have those comeback opportunities have literally been granted this chance to do so, as the top have fallen and the other top 10s have risen essentially in this moment here. And look at Cold go. Down goes Tavern, the healthiest of the duo. Can he get one more? But no, the zone takes him out.
But Reed managed to pick up Bugha, who was just trying to pickaxe the wall behind him. Still tough to make a run as a solo. Yamzo and Rise, that's why they're still hanging out on the low ground. But Chris with a knock there. Yamzo feeling pretty good about that one. Still looking to see if he can collect Polarize too, part of the process. But losing Rise, solo situation. Yamzo can't hold on any longer. Polarize gets the better end of that exchange. But now Clicks, Epic Whale, down for the count. But Clicks in a 1 versus 2 situation. Can he find it? The Mythic Frenzy just short of getting the shots that he needed. But I'll tell you what, MDF, the team that just won this Victory Royale here to start the day off with game number 7, those are some massively needed leaderboard points.
And it's worth so much more. So this is how the comeback arc begins for some duos, and more importantly, how the race takes off for others. The fact that Yamzo and Rise were still alive in that game, incredible. But the solo performances from Cole, from even the likes of Clicks and Epic, who came in as a duo to put themselves in the conversation to remain relevant in the tournament, even for Death and Polarize now, they're very much a contender inside the top 5. The points have just gotten so condensed that I'm afraid the leaderboard is gonna be looking extremely spooky, and it's definitely not gonna be the same.
Look, all I'm gonna say is, I saw a tweet from Death, the start of the day here, MDF. He said top 5 or nothing at all. Maybe
let me check the current leaderboard. Alright, so far, oh my god, we have a 4-way tie from 2nd to 5th. That's crazy, bro. Yeah, Death Polarize coming in first. Then we have Gmine, Noxy, Yamzo, Clicks' team all in 2nd place. Then we have Trevor, Edgy in 6th. Bugha, Viv in 7th. I don't know what that is, but they're in 8th. Acrocole in 9th, and Baka Pars in 10th. Not bad. Not bad at all. I did not mean to do that. Alright. Now, I'll be right back. No, intermission.
That the entire game. I think we have to talk about, I mean, of course, Death, Polarize coming out swinging game 1 of day number 2. You know, you ever see that meme, right, where the little thing's like looking over the snowbank and he's like, what they doing over there? That's like Death and Polarize, right? They're taking away the win, and then all this is going on with the solo clutches and Clicks, and they're just like on the low ground picking up their own eliminations as a duo. What a game, Kelly.
Yeah, Death and Polaroids on the low ground, grabbing 10 eliminations, being the third team to grab a double-digit elimination game. And bless Clix dropping down here. I think he knew that between it being a 1v2, he had to go for it. He didn't have the heals anymore. And how could you blame him after the most obscene run of a player I've ever seen?
Yeah.
I cannot even imagine what Clix's stream and chat is like right now. Going all the way back to the fight with Peterbot and Pollo, to then going to Miro and Cooper, then to I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Clix literally deserves like some sort of MVP for that performance right there. I mean, Epic Whale's down, like you said, clutching up to fend off Peterbot and Pollo as a duo. I don't even know. They end up on higher ground. Zeke, what's going on?
Well, you know what? We can find out. Let's look at these standings. This is going to tell us everything we need to know. So coming into that, Death Polarized, we're in 13th place. But look at this. They've jumped up into 4th out of nowhere.
Wow.
But look at this. I think the story has to be Yamzo and Rise. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. These guys still have this top of the leaderboard. But how long can they hold on?
I don't even. I was so distracted during that game. I forgot Yamzo and Rise were even playing. Hey, listen, shout out to them, right? Holding on to first place, coming out of the gate swinging, holding on to that top spot on the leaderboard. Kelly, a big thing that we talked about yesterday, the last 3 FNCSs have been won by the team that's in first place after day. Winners here after 5 games.
I mean, they did such a good job on the low ground. Inevitably, they did go down, especially with a team like Death and Polaroids that were also in the low ground. Eventually, you're going to have that contention with the 2v2. But just so many solo runs we got to see there between Cold, who I don't even understand how he was able to stay alive. He was at 10 HP at one point and still grabbed an elimination. We saw Reet with no builds and no heals staying alive. There was just so many of our top duos somehow a solo. Here we have Cold's game going on. This is a little bit earlier on, but you can see he was a solo from Zone 8, if not even before.
Yeah, he was a solo for a very long time, and he just makes it work. Look how many mats he has right now. Of course, that refresh that he ended up finding, and then the second one ends up coming in right here. I swear the amount of times I saw him hit like 140 plus damage onto just anybody throughout this end game was incredible. I mean, he is able to consistently, just knowing that that's a duo on the other side, to continuously hit those. I know it's going to be a plan on words, and we've said it. Ice in the veins. He is just.
It was crazy. At one was 1,200 above score. Issues with that. I can't believe as a
Just crazy. This was just game number. More games of this.
I can't do
and to
it.
just tell how different these games are, right? This multiplier, it's really shaking things up. So many of these duos are put in these situations where they're either shambles or they are shambles, and that they can, I'm just going all in. I have no other choice. I'm looking at you, Cold. Wow. 5 more games of this, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, those are the type of, performances we need if you want to make yourselves an FNCS champion. I really feel like a lot of our top 10 teams there were really showing us everything that we had. But, Kelly, coming into day number 2 here, a lot of those teams being solo, we haven't really seen them as a duo kind of perform yet either. So I'm excited to see some of those solo performances be turned into duo performances, and they'll perform even better.
And if we're going to talk about solo just real quick, it was exciting to see Kanata there. I am a bit confused as to how he had high ground over Clix and Epic Whale for a moment there, but Kanata and Agers obviously didn't have the performance that they wanted to in day 1, but to see him being able to hold that strong and another solo performance is exciting to see.
I'm locked in, and I hope you guys are locked in as well. We have game 2 ready to go, so let's just jump back into this one more time for game number 6.
This is insane. This is definitely really starting to turn up right now. And you know what? You have to call a spade a spade. The fact that Epic Whale fell off the high ground, there is just no excuse for losing out on those points when the competition is this close. And now Cooper and Miro have to play catch up, but they're a team that has done this in the past here. So Taco, we have a lot of new developing storylines happening.
Plenty of new developing storylines, but the one thing that has managed to hold true for at least first Mount Lobby is the fact that Yamzo and Rise is still maintaining that first place position on the leaderboard. Doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. As the analyst so kindly pointed out, it's all about just focusing on your own game, focusing on where those consistency factors were at, because Yamzo and Rise, they made excellent work of being the third-party bandits, essentially, towards a lot of those engagements. A lot of the elimination points they found in this 7th match did come as a result of them just being in the right place at the right time.
And also just how in the world did Cold and Reed do what they did as solos in that lobby? Well, guess what? We get to continue the action here. Let's jump in with game number 8. All right, game 8 of the grand finals is just starting to get cooking here. Battles that we know to look out for: Miro, Cooper at the drop, Baka, Pars at their drop, Cold and Acorn. Will the AI put themselves on a leaderboard again? I don't know. Let's find out here as we start to take on to the world. And does look like Baka and Pars have a lot, of course, to think about here.
Baka, Pars, half the lobby at their drop. Not actually, but still, getting triple contested is certainly not fun. As usual, though, it's going to be Chance, it's going to be Aaron. Actually, Chance and Aaron getting tagged up a little bit here. Immediate launch pad away. Baka with that Enforcer AR, still managing to collect. He actually gets the knock confirmation onto Chance. And with those Shieldfish, Baka, Flowberry in hand as well. Still waiting, though. Doesn't want to challenge it just yet, given that Baka and Pars want to make sure they get some essential resources just off this first building here at the Reclaim Villa, Sandy Strip area. But definitely some solid accuracy.
Yeah, Baka's him. He hits the tag and just looks away. Like he knew he was going to hit the tag. He just looks away. He's like, yeah, I got that. And it's GG. Looking at the standings that they just gave us a little glimpse, this is looking like a top 10 or nothing at the moment tournament. I'm finding it extremely difficult now as teams that are from 11th and below, that they're going to have a chance to get into, the top 3, because essentially these points are really starting to rack up right now. You're seeing the effects of a 1.5x multiplier essentially here on the day for all of your performances. But look at this, Baka and Pars go from one team directly into the next. They are not happy with the shots that came in just a moment ago, and they say, you know what, you're a little too close to us. They want to take that fight, but another squad jumps in. Now what is happening here? It just doesn't stop for Baka and Pars.
Again, I said it last match, but it's literally just never-ending box fights with these two. They drop in a spot where their intention is to try and contest the Forecast Tower that's east of the hills from Reclaim Villa. And so, as expected, Baka Pars just having to fend off numerous teams that just insist on challenging these two. Nobody's seemingly convinced that Baka and Pars, they might have a lot of respect from players in NA, but respect isn't going to prevent people from trying to take you out in a grand format.
Ooh,
massive shots.
Beautiful tag. Hey, listen, he's just peppering them, letting him know we're here. All right, you back off. Take a look at Snacky and Possess. Some of these early game eliminations that they get to pick up. One on to Macwood. And I was going to say, don't tell me he's not going to get the points now. Now I'm just going to forever be wary of battles that happen on top of the NPCs on the map. Cold and Acorn starting off their game much slower than the last one here, really just feeling out the fencing fields. But like we talked about, the amount of teams that land in this vicinity, you have Muzz and Paper who are trailing behind right now, but they're the team under the scopes right now.
And I don't blame Acorn and Cold for taking things so slow there at Fencing Fields. Seems they're a little bit more convinced that it's better to just wait. There's no waiting around, though, for Cooper and Miro. They want this exchange with Cam and Diminished, and they want it now. If they can find these eliminations quickly, it'll be a lot easier to handle things if a third-party situation does start to unfold. But Cam and Diminished, seemingly a little bit better boxed up in terms of defending that forecast tower. Miro, Cooper, they recognize the fact that Cam and Minish kind of beat them to the punch in terms of basing up around the forecast, but that doesn't mean that Miro and Cooper aren't still going to try to challenge them for those Legion tactical grunts. They want that forecast key card, and I can't fault them for it. Just so impactful when you know every single zone for the entirety of a lobby.
Oh my gosh.
Rise.
Little bit higher, and Rise rips that guy right out of this game and onto the battle bus. This is the difference for Rise and Yamza right here. They have this center map just on a block, but let's take a look at Muzz and Paper, who have been jumped on by NPen. Okay, so they're fencing fields. Contested teams goes in the way of Muzz and Paper right now as they finish off NPen and Aaron pretty quickly, I might add. As soon as we jump in, the battle is over. And yeah, look at all the extra heals here as well. So this is really, really important, because not only do they have the zone on top of them, now they have this excess amount of additional resources to play with for a second here. And they're going to give it up. They're going to say, all right, well, now we got time. Let's go ahead and cap off our material, come back.
Can maybe expect to see Muzz and Paper a little bit later on, more towards the combat cash exchange, because at fencing, it's one thing that they probably will have a little bit of struggles with, is getting metal from that POI. So the cash can certainly mitigate some of those woes. As Ritual NPC spawn in for the forecast tower, and Ritual take him completely uncontested. But we saw in the last lobby that even if a team has that zone knowledge, it doesn't guarantee that they'll still be a duo by the time we get to some of our closing final zones.
Look at this. Cooper and Miro very, very hesitant right now. They're like, we know we saw a duo here. Where did they go? And then the AI are just walking around, right? The NPCs are walking away. So that's going to be everything they need to know at this point. And it just shows you that some teams are... Yeah, they want, of course, the information from the forecast tower, but they're not willing to throw their tournament away, let alone take a potential clash with a team that has a heart to contest them at it. And they just give it up. That's, if anything, more of a surprise than I was expecting for how this is going to play out.
Found it.
Definitely had anticipated Cameron and Minish to duke things out a little bit further there with Miro and Cooper, but probably know something he don't. And for them to back off,
pretty much same teams as last time
did,
died.
likely just a circumstance where they felt they needed to prioritize getting some surge damage online and didn't want to risk finding themselves being elimed, because these players, a lot of them tend to do tons of creative, tons of box fights against each other. Cold Acorn found the perfect time to strike up against the likes of Vanillas and Convict. Convict and Vanillas, though, will manage to fall back. This is sneaky, though, from Cold and Acorn, just waiting directly outside of the vault here at Fencing Fields to see if anybody might be trying to scurry in,
get my laundry,
grab some leftovers. But Cold and Acorn, they gotta make their exit.
So I can tell you guys a story. So when I went to go get my laundry, it was extremely wet, so I put it in the dryer anyways. Like it was like soaked. Like all my clothes were like completely soaked in water. So yeah. Yeah, we don't talk about it, okay? We do not talk about it, okay? Anyways. Let's see how Clicks is doing. Okay, it doesn't look like he's doing that well. Epic just got knocked.
He definitely is. For a moment there, thought that Clicks was gonna see if he could try to find some semblance of a recovery, but no, Clicks just completely pushed out and being held currently by Oliver OG and Asian Jeff.
I feel like this is a mental thing right now. Epic Whale just fell off of high ground and cost them game number 7, the Victory Royale. And he's starting game number 8 off to a, now, we need to see him get right back in the zone. There's no time to waste here. It's a 1.5x type day, but hold up. I just see Reed cranking, and I think to myself, I need to watch this battle. So already getting fully cut up here, Ritual finds himself on the high ground, trying to look down. I see Aviv, I see Bugha, and I see another team here in the mix. And already everyone battling for this little bit of high ground. Look at the size of the structure here. This has not been a clean fight by any means. Reed down to 1 big pot shows that he's been tagged several amount of times already. And it's just an all-out scrappy fight here. And not only that, there's another team just starting to decide of whether or not they want to jump in here.
Have a feeling it was Yumi and Vert that were actually first situated here at the Stormy Station. Reet and Ritual probably initially feeling they were going to be able to find a possible, or just getting some good surge.
Bugha, I'm assuming.
Now entering the mix here, MDF. Teams are just going to fall back for the time being. Nobody.
Hello.
The victim side of a and Clicks all the while. With Cam and a minute directly in front of him.
Dude,
Shot there
what is
out
going
of
on the
Clicks.
internet?
That sniper shot. And just hoping that they've got enough.
Dude.
That'll make things a little bit
Internet.
easier when he starts to venture back towards the zone. Ideally.
For Peterbot and Boyo, now we jump in. They're absolutely situated here, fully set
All right,
up.
130p.
Doesn't seem like they've gotten the chance to engage with anyone just yet, and that just tells me that whoever's next to them is going to be in for a world of trouble. And it's Cooper and Miro who might be the first targets. Taco, they have max material. They have max, what seems like heals and ammunition. I'm thinking they don't have enough surge. I'm thinking they will just have to face check Cooper and Miro here shortly.
Peterbot and Pollo have definitely had their fair share of problems as far as that surge damage threshold is concerned, but whether or not they want to tango with Cooper and Miro, only time will tell. This Ritual, they do have zone knowledge, but they want more damage, they want more points. Elimination is going to be one of the easiest ways to find them, as
Let me try again.
just try to do his best to scurry away from Reed here, but Reed actually does lose Ritual in the process. Pretty massive blow here. Now for Reed, he has to commit.
He pickaxed him down, but no, then gets found out by Bull and then gets pickaxed back. It seems like what just happened? It was looking so good for a second for Reed and Ritual, and everything turns upside down. We are seeing the collapse, the downfall now of team after team,
awesome.
top teams as well. Last game, Reed had to put everything on his back, and it might be Ritual who's having a tough time here as far as that duo's performance is concerned. Just like it might be Epic Whale who's having a tougher time with his performance right now. So it's crazy to see how, a duo really does come down to both players being in peak performance. Can't be one or the other.
But for Reed and Ritual, and being a team that gets an uncontested, confirmed forecast tower every single match, for them to be so low on surge that they feel the necessity to go for those desperation box fights, and they're on fringe of zone from that position as well, by the way. Not even sure if they had been successful with eliminating Bolts and Zooks there, that it would have even been a super lucrative engagement, because sure, you would have gotten the Surge, but then you're being held. We saw other teams from across the hill in positions of elevation inside of zone that have all the luxury of just taking free pot shots. So even if Ritual and Reet had managed to pull off the double elimination there, the way they would have likely been held on edge of zone, even with future zone knowledge, just seems as though a lot of their early game is being heavily dictated by the fact that they aren't contested at their drop, because they have been struggling for surge damage in Game 7 and now 8 here today.
And it's not just that. That's the exact same issue they were having yesterday. When you looked at and compared the teams that had the forecast tower knowledge and the information, those teams were positioning intentionally like in the best spots possible, right, to favor the next zone. But you did notice that Reet and Ritual were consistently being on the edges, and it was most noticeable in that game where Miro and Cooper just so happened to pick it up. And I remember commentating about it because I was surprised. I'm like, look at how out of position Reet and Ritual are for a team that has the information, right? But then on the other side, Cooper and Miro set up with like max mats, all the ammunition, right? The heals. It was just like two completely different stories.
Either way, they definitely want to get themselves sorted on the same page. They've got to do it soon, because the leaderboard's not going to wait for you, especially not with that 1.5 times point multiplier in effect. Keep in mind, it applies to all points, not just eliminations. So sure, eliminations bumped up to 6 points each today, but so is placements, and Victor Royale netting 100 points is a very quick way to either lose or gain positioning on that leaderboard.
They just singled out a team all the way on the edge, and they're going right in for it because they need the surge tags. This is like unironic. This is like actually ironic, because I was just talking about when they have the forecast tower, they position themselves so well, and we haven't seen a worse decision to jump outside the base with less surge possible. I feel like I just cast a curse here on Cooper so bad. That's a crazy play to me.
Look, the crash pad rotate might be
How did that just all
silent.
just line up? Like, I don't even know.
Everyone was looking at Cooper and Miro the moment that they entered the air. Yamzo, Rise, Edgy Tavern, though, getting pieced up across the river. Cooper, Miro, though, on the other hand, they're going to actually find themselves falling, eliminated by Wick and Somzi, the team that they had initially planned to pounce upon, now being the ones to eliminate them. And
Got 2 kills.
I was just going to say, Death as well. Clutch solo performance there for a moment. Does manage to secure
I was going to say,
2 eliminations.
it's worth mentioning, Death and Polarizer up at the top of the standings after that last Victor Royale really put them in the conversation. And this is an incredible clutch right here to not only fight back the duo that jumped on them, but survive the onslaught that was the server lobby's focus there. And it seems like everyone was content after those first set of eliminations went through. So it just seems like most of the players on the edge needed just a couple tags, right? Normally,
it feels like this
season players won't get
just trying to
greedy for it, but you just compare that to what Cooper and Miro did. It was complete greed there, jumping in, and they couldn't have timed it worse.
Halfway greed, halfway a definite necessity, though, given that they were below on their surge, probably recognizing the fact that none of the other teams that were based up on the other side of that river were going to be willing to peak anytime soon. Impressively enough, though, Flix and Epic, it's been an uphill battle the entire time here in Game 8. And we're seeing the dynamic now between a duo and a solo. Death doing his best to continue clutching things up here for himself and Polarize, especially when you find yourself starting off the day with a Victor Royale here in match 7. You know Death just wants to keep making a play for placements. He's got at least 2 medkits, so he can definitely bide his time a decent ways. He's going to probably commit to sticking towards this backside of the zone. He'll get the audio cues from teams as they start using the grapple blades forward, and with this Reaper Sniper, if he can manage to connect even 1 or 2 shots, that should be enough surge for Death to just continue maintaining this low ground position and just trying to stay out of sight, out of mind from the rest of the lobby.
Definitely tough situation to be in, but look at this, the Yamzo and Rise right now.
Ritual dead.
Like you said, position, nestled, right, comfortably at the moment. have this huge runway in front of them, and you have to think if Acorn and Cold can't keep up their exceptional run so far, it's going to be pretty tough. But I think the moral of the story right now is, you know, regardless of what's going on, you can have all the information in the world with the, you know, the forecast towers. It's not easy by any means, especially given the server intensity.
Another day's about to be ruined. Yep.
Hold up, take a look here. Clicks and Epic are right back in the game now with that elimination there onto Vanillas. That's going to give them not only material, but all of the loadout preference required for Epic Whale to really be comfortable here. And there it is. Extra shields, excess medkits now. They will need probably a couple more tags here to go ahead and take the lead.
Making
Get
sure
a glimpse at Aviv right here. He's got jiving on the outskirts of the zone. They're at 4 elims.
Aviv and Bugha have certainly been making work of holding teams on edge of zone. But this next max pool going to be a little bit more complicated as Aviv, Bugha recognizing the fact that there's nobody else left to shoot at, and there's still even 4 elims, barely 20 above the surge damage threshold here. Yamzo Rise, our #1 team currently in a massive fight against this Storm Surge as well. You can see Rise looking for opportunities to peek. The other issue that these two might encounter is when teams start to rotate, they want to be able to take shots, but they've got to worry about not getting caught up healing at the same time, or else they might miss those opportunities to get those much-needed tags online.
Take a look at the move right here. Off they go. 440 points now. The placement points are going to start to rack in, but just 15 damage above. They will have to land on the team as well. Aviv and Bugha are desperate for something, but there's no life.
Redux just killed Bugha.
Nothing there for them. No lifeline to pick up. It's Redux who makes the comeback here. Dan and Redux are just having quite the first 2 games so far as they are opening themselves up to another potential endgame here. Meanwhile, Cold and Acorn are also on the tier. Doing well. 2 eliminations here, still sitting pretty strong. Oh no, they singled out the young New York City's prodigy. Death here, who's back against the wall now, forced down into his ultimate low territory. Not ideal position to be in by any means, and look, he's starting to run thin on material here.
But again, with these 2 medkits, he could potentially hold Acorn and Cold at bay. There is a cache next to Death as well, so he might have an opportunity here to come up big, but it's just going to depend on Acorn and Cold.
Yeah, he's just going to give this up. He's like, you know what? I don't want to be here. I need to get up this low ground. I need to get him from the surge or the storm here. And then he has to deal with his surge here as well. He's going to swing around, picks up some of that cash. Oh, he does secure some loot.
Acorn and Cold leaving made that possibility for Death, so he was able to hold out just long enough. Now, utilizing this med kit, but Yamzo Rise sold at the top. Now Yamzo stuck at the bottom here as he gets knocked. Rise is going to keep things moving forward. Pretty aggressive rotation there from Rise as well, cutting directly through the center with that grapple. It's incredible that it's only Yamzo that falls for the time being, but Cold, Acorn looking to shake things up even further. 1 more elimination being added to the count. That's going to be onto Chris Spear. And Death still hanging on.
Bro, everyone's...
Not only that, Clix and Epic Whale are actually on high ground right now. I can't believe they're trying to play as a high ground team in this very difficult meta with grapple hooks in place. That's insane, but look at this. Death almost, literally almost ends Cold and Acorn's run right there. But he only clips him with a body tag and not a full-on headshot. And then he gets spotted out
high ground
by a friend of his from Prodigy there too. But look at this. Peterbot goes for high ground. Clix and Epic Whale now has to fight for it. Down goes Boyle. And Clix is playing so well. But the Storm is relentless. The damage comes in, and no, he doesn't see the team working next door. And now it's up to Epic Whale here to make up for the last game.
But Epic, he only has, actually, he's completely out of materials, but Rise is completely out of his own life. An elimination, and well-placed shot there. Now, Peterbot operating as a solo because of Clix and Epic Whale taking out his teammate. Peterbot, final medkit has been expended, but take a look at the high ground. It has swapped around. Dasher, Rooney, and Seek now way up above the rest of the lobby. Baka and Pars on the other
and Pars is
end.
still
We've
alive.
seen these two be warriors of the lobby and still standing tall here. As things transition into the final moving zone. Baka, Pars, they want to make sure that they stay tarping through these mid-ground layers. Height, you have to expect they're going to look to chop it sometime soon, but that's only if Peterbot can even work his way up there. Zooks.
Gets delivered right into the hands of Baka and Pars, though, as they start to turn up here. 7 eliminations and still counting, but they're out of material now. Can they find what did they just pick up there? Hopefully it was something to do with mats there. Zeus is on the heels here. Baka and Pars, if they don't quickly finish this elimination, the pressure from up above is going to start to catch up. Here comes the counter shots. There goes the wood builds. But Metal starts to come out here. They still have a chance here. Anything can absolutely happen right now. Dash and Seek are just in the game with some material, but it seems like they're indecisive of how exactly they want to execute here. But it's going to be all or nothing. And I like that they're holding back here. If they jump in, it might just be the end of them. One goes down, and now they have the advantage. But Pars, too soon, too early, goes back for the heal off. I don't think he's going to have enough medkits to survive the storm here. But at this rate, who knows? I'm wrong. He's got 5.
Wait, but he's
Storm
got...
sickness.
It looked so promising until it wasn't. Seek and Dasher Rooney probably counting their lucky stars because the moment that they watch this one back, MDF, and they see Pars running around 5 medkits in hand, they definitely find themselves a little bit more on the fortunate side of things here in game number 8, but a win's a win. And to start the day off, game number 7 didn't exactly pan out for them, but game number 8, they definitely found the points they wanted.
That had to be storm sickness, right? Like, he had 5 medkits. I think he had enough time. It should have lasted likely a little longer, but you know what? Ultimately, Seek and Dash get a victory royale under the 1.5x point multiplier, which is going to give them a huge opportunity to get up into some new prizing brackets, if anything at all. So getting a win during a grand finals weekend is absolutely impressive.
And it's crazy too because they really slid in at the last moment and just played spoiler to the teams that were trying to tackle height. But we didn't get to follow along with Zeke and Dash Rooney the entire time, but you know who might have? It's the analyst. So Zeke, we'll get it back to you guys.
You know, I love that MDF kind of calls out there that they may not be playing for these top numbers, but these guys with that victory out will now be jumping up to attack higher brackets here when it comes to that final payout. That's huge, right? When we're talking about life-changing money like this, being able to suddenly find yourself earning more money because of a single victory royale, that is massive. Congratulations to Seek and Dash Rooney. You guys got yourselves the victory royale. And as we've already seen out of just game number 1, because of this multiplier, even just the victory royale is so vital and can make such a big difference to how many points you end up with.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100 plus points for them right there. They were sitting in 29th before, or no, not 29th, 31st before that game. So that's going to be a big jump for them. And honestly, it's just a classic. We saw this, Kelly. A lot of teams were fighting for high. In fact, 2 of our big name teams, Clix and Epic World versus Peterbot and Polio on the higher ground. Cloud and Aegis was also getting a little bit involved. But the fight, it just doesn't go either of their ways, right? Trades on each side, and Seek and Dash, they see the opportunity. They go up and they win the game because of it.
and Joe 2G,
And
aka Forever
I
Zone
think
Wars.
this is a
is
lesson
6.
that a lot of these
Dash and
duos
Seek is
need to
7.
kind of realize is that trying to take height around
Aegis
zone
and
9,
Kanai
zone
at
10,
And
just it is rough. And if it
both
works out, it works out great, right? You're able to get refreshes, you're able to control the lobby, but
let's go.
it just doesn't seem to be working out. And it's these duos that are grabbing height at zone 11, if not even zone 12, that are able to actually win from high ground. But it's not like they're holding high ground, right? It's such a rough position to be into, and to see teams like Clix and Epic Whale go for it time and time again, especially after having such incredible comeback games where Clix repeatedly is bringing back Epic Whale alive. We know that they can grab the victory royale. They just have to change up their strategy a little bit.
Yeah, and so the duos, right, in that situation, they also didn't have much, right, from Seek. If that had been Clix and Epic Whale, like, things would have been different. But a lot of these duos, like you're saying, Kelly, they're trying to attack the high ground very, very early. Let's take a look at our standings. I want to see how things are going after just game number 2 on the day. With 4 more games now, this could go any which way. Iamzo and Rise still holding down that number 1 spot. I don't know how they are managing to still just keep this lead ahead of Acorn and Cold. It seems like whatever Acorn and Cold, every time they have even just a moment, it's like, nope, Iamzo and Rise, they've managed to do enough just to keep you guys at bay.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, a 15th place right there, 3 eliminations for Iamzo and Rise. So not technically the best game, but still enough to hold them in that top spot. We got to give a big shout out to Baka and Parza. 3rd place, up 7 places on the leaderboard right there. Kelly, they have been contested every single game. I feel like we've seen the fight as well every single game. How do they just keep continuously winning all spawn? It's supposed to be a 50-50. I don't think we can consider that a 50-50 anymore.
No, definitely not with this duo right here. I love to see them rising up. They were in 10th place before that game, so to see them jump up like that is exactly where they want to be. And there's a lot of duos that seem to be, I mean, I thought Iamzo and Rise fell short there, but clearly it wasn't that short enough. So still being in first place, I think that this is still anyone's game. If Iamzo and Rise has another game like what we just saw right there, it really does give an opportunity for teams like Acorn and Cold and Peter Von Pollo, who also jumped up a few placements as well, to run away with this.
Yeah, Monster D-Face kind of called out and said something really interesting to me. He said this is a compounding situation. So either you're going to stay alive and you're going to start to compound these points, right? You're going to start to develop this lead, or you're going to fall. You're going to fall way too early outside of placement without elims, and suddenly everyone is just going to be walking up to you or surpassing you, right? Because of this multiplayer. With 4 more games to go, what do we need to change up, right? What are the things we need to do right here, right now to find ourselves in the number 1 spot?
Well, coming into day number 2, actually, both of the teams that have won each of the games so far, neither one of those teams were actually in the top 10. So we're thinking, oh, you know, Iamzo and Rise aren't having their typical types of games. Well, neither are really any of the other teams in the top 10. So we got to see some of these teams, some of the favorites really have those pop-off performances that we're used to seeing from them.
I definitely think having smarter mid-game engagements, which obviously isn't something that you can actively decide if you're going to have something that's easier or smart, and disengaging, I think, is a really big part of it. Making sure that you have enough mats in the end game to be able to survive long enough. We see a lot of these duos, a lot of our top duos, kind of having storm sickness, having no mats, so then when they do go down to a solo clutch, it's just scrambles, and some of them are able to pull it out, but obviously that is not the position you want to be in.
Absolutely brutal. And I want to watch more games. We're not going to hold you up any longer. Let's jump back into the action. Casters, take it away.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. That's right. The action is going to continue to unfold here. We're approaching essentially the halfway mark of day number 2 now, and it couldn't be more pivotal to stay alive at this point, Taco. I mean, we have to see some adjustments. I've been rooting for Re and Ritual this entire season, and that last game, it was just an extremely difficult one to watch, where they just couldn't get the surge tags that they needed.
Yeah, despite the fact that I think a lot of the NA fan base is kind of pinning Reet and Ritual initially as the main characters, it seems like some new protagonists are starting to surface here, MDF, because the fact that we've seen the likes of Death and Polarize, and now we're just going to continue, I think, seeing teams doing everything in their power to try and claw their way into that top 10 leaderboard. And forget about top 10, it's about the top 5, but we've got the battle bus ready for game number 9.
Battle bus. Game number 9.
Well, that's right. The battle bus is ready. So here we have it. One thing to think about, I know the leaderboard might seem a little bit intimidating when you see first place 30 points ahead of second, but that's really not much. In hindsight, it's just a couple of placement points. You know, a few eliminations, essentially. It's not that much of a gap, and that's what we mean by you cannot afford to fall early. Bak and Pars here being contested. It's like a blessing and a curse right now. The blessing side of it is that they are winning so quickly here that it is just giving them a
good job, Edgy.
ridiculous amount of points and a nice, comfortable lead on Surge. But not only that, they get to loot their draw spot extremely quick and put the pedal to the metal when it comes to the teams nearby for fighting for that forecast tower. On the other side, Acorn and Cold have a completely different situation on hand. Their games have been again, notoriously slower. However, still they're securing the vault, right? And they just have to survive this drop, being that it's triple contested. It just doesn't get any more difficult than that, Taco.
For sure. And want to elaborate a little bit more in terms of Ibaka and Pars' storyline, how it's shaping up here today. But first, we got to get to the likes of Rapid and Batman Booga one more time facing off in an immediate off-spawn contest with Skater and Dalty. And you have to remember as well what happened yesterday at this drop. Skater and Dalty, doesn't matter how out they might seem, you can never really anticipate
versus
them to be
Balti
a fully written off duo here, because the way that they managed to turn and burn on Rapid and Batman Booga and yesterday's day one matches was something that I don't think many people would have ever expected to see happen, especially not to a player like Rapid, but happens to the best of us. Sometimes you just don't get the shots that you need. Misplace a couple of edits here and there, or miss entirely, but Rapid definitely wanting some redemption here. Tries to tackle this initial 1 versus 2. He does have Batman Booga now wrapping around, and with a slight elevation over Dalty and Skater, Rapid and Batman Booga, they gotta chip away at the build first.
Take a look at this. Great tags here from Batman Booga, but he doesn't like the fact that he nearly loses his shield, gets right back to his teammate. And while this is going on, you know, a question's running through my mind. Like, Booga and Miro have been contested. Have they been pushing off? You know, Veer and Soneto on the drop, have they just been outlanding them? Have they even been able to even take that battle? So I'm not sure what's been unfolding on that side, but hold up. Things almost go south here for Rapid, but he does manage to fulfill the elimination there. Here's a look at Aviv and Booga.
Right now, everything's malfunctioning. There we go.
Who are creeping up the standings right now. We haven't covered too much of their mid-game.
Yeah, but for Aviv and Booga, down at the Lovely Lodge, what's surprising to see, no, actually it's going to be the Unward Manor. Take that back. That explains why the likes of Edgy and Tavern are trying to intervene. Seems as though Booga and Aviv made a really smart rotation to pick off
Aviv and Booga, do you play
at least one of the two.
G-Money?
That's 6 points for Aviv and Booga to start game number 9, and Aviv still looking for more, but just gonna come up short here. You see Booga, the lock-on pistol, I believe, just looking for some of the freebie surge tags, but from that range, probably only 17 a pop, what I would expect, but every little bit counts at this point.
Well, everything's looking good here for Booga and Aviv right now, as they will have all the time in the world to go ahead and get into the action here. Polarizing death, though, in a fight against Cam and Aminish, and it just seems like the situation's been flipped upside down. Yesterday, Cam and Aminish were off to an incredibly strong start, getting a glimpse of top 5 for a couple rounds there. But now it's Prodigy and Polarize who, after that Victory Royale, have rocketed their way right up into this conversation, into the standings. And that's what happens when you perform stronger on a day where the point thresholds are different, where everything means a lot more. You'll just earn more for your placement points and eliminations. But look at this, Boya and Peterbot, this time contested for the Forecast Tower by a team that's pretty desperate here at Snack and Possess. They have to do something big, and what bigger thing to do than try to snatch up the information of the Forecast Tower. But They're not happy with the situation at hand. They're not happy to fighting it up.
Not only that, but with a team base so far up on a hill that can oversee both Pollo and Peterbot, as well as the duo that was just contemplating challenging them. That's part of the reason why we see Peterbot go to the other side of his box. He doesn't want to try and look for peaks from a position that he knows a team with that much elevation over him probably had the advantage.
Muzz knocked
Exchanging
Acorn
blows.
in the feed right there. Keep an eye on that. This could be a huge problem. Cold here by himself on the high ground, looking down now. Okay, so it had to be to the hands of a well-timed snipe or something, but either way, it's not looking good. That Cold is just going to say, you know what? Take the elimination, take all the loot you want. I'm going to get out of here and play for the tournament life, and he leaves Acorn behind him. Now Muzz and Paper have to think, wait a second, did they leave his teammate? Did he pick him up? Are they gone? That's crazy that Acorn is still crawling around right now.
What's even crazier is that neither Muzz or Paper even had a Reaper sniper at their disposal. And Cold, you can see only 11
Yep.
bullets left in this Mythic Striker. Might be one of the best weapons in the game, but not if you don't have any ammo to actually look for those long-range battles. Cold probably just praying that Muzz and Paper don't happen to stumble upon this bush, but Muzz and Paper might be the least of his concern. There's a team approaching right next to him. It's going to be Cam and a Minish. They're not bothering to check the bush just yet, but there are some shots being sent their way. So Cold, even if
Not
he
really.
isn't spotted out by Cam and a Minish, though, he still has to worry about the team that's taking shots at them from over by the ship it station.
Well, I'm more curious. Minish is like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna dodge, bro. Bro's running behind the bushes. Like, instead of building a wall there, that was crazy. But you know what? I'm not even gonna second guess the decision making
Wait, did you
from
crash?
Cold here. He's got Acorn. He's got himself. You know, Acorn is one of the greatest IGLs we have ever watched play Fortnite. So if the call is made, dude, position up. Don't worry about it. Play Storm. I trust in it. But now I'm just a little bit wary after watching Bach and Pars try to play that heal off and the Storm sickness catch up, right? So it's kind of like a double-edged sword now. You have to begin to think about these things. You have to weigh your options. You can't really trust the Storm all that much because in the end game, it could just come full circle there and cost you a win. But for Polarized and Death here, they've tried to claw their way back into this game. You can tell that the material has been bad ever since that engagement up against Cam and the Minish. Look at this. They're going for the fight here onto Macwood and Blake, and Macwood just gets deleted by Death. I think he caught him with a side angle, and it's just not looking good right now for Blake at all.
Blake is unfortunately just a rat in a trap at this point because Polarized and Death, they're not going to let this one go. Blake, the teeniest bit of HP is his silver lining currently. He's doing a relatively decent job, though, at wasting Polarized and Death's time,
And
at
Matt.
least forcing them to work for this final elimination. But he will inevitably fall. Just too much pressure being applied, but definitely got a good chunk out of Death's HP in the process. Granted, there are ample heals surrounding
I don't know what
Death and Polarized, though, so they should be able to regen their shields, no problem.
Yep.
Peterbot, though.
He says looks like Macwood.
Now we know
Wow.
where the issue stems
That's how it
from.
happened.
So Peterbot is
Blame him.
He's actually the origin story of the woes of Blake and Macwood for game number 9.
I'm laughing
No,
because
Rise are
TikTok's
dead
gonna love
already.
that one. Chat always goes crazy for Peterbot plays.
Acorn Cold
I
could
love
take
that
this from him.
Macwood was that
they play
exposed
well.
and didn't even recognize the fact that there was a possibility of someone like Peterbot managing to find an angle on him.
Did you just see that? The leaderboard just flat for a second. The Alpha Rise are down. Fully finished right now, which means Acorn and Cold. If Cold can pick up Acorn and run this one back, they have a chance to overtake first place for the first time today. But more importantly, the rest of top 10 have a chance now to start to close the gap. This is going to become an extremely, extremely competitive leaderboard when this is all said and done, because If Yamzo and Rise are out the game, that is the biggest piece of the puzzle that needed to be solved for everyone else inside the top 10.
You just know that a team like Acorn and Cold,
Interesting choice.
if they recognize the fact that Yamzo and Rise have been eliminated from this lobby, maybe expect them to slow things down a little bit, because now they don't necessarily need to go for an overly aggressive box fight. Just find your surge tags, play it back. Don't force any unnecessary positioning or any unnecessary over peaking. We've already seen a handful of players finding their faces getting ripped off in the process for challenging on the peaks here. Just never know when someone with a sniper is right around the corner.
Back in there, be sending to me. Yep.
Re and Ritual, much different
I
position right
just want
now.
to go ahead and say,
Keep in mind, this is a team that spawns
say one
on
thing.
the eastern side, and they played all the way around here. Beautiful tag right there by Ritual. And just much better here as far as the damage is concerned. That's going to really jump them up.
Oh, good.
Give them a little room to work with there. And they find another one on the rotation here, so things are looking up here. But we jump over Cold. Cold, likely, I pray that he has picked up the reboot card and he's just waiting for the save at this point. Because if not, time has to be running extremely thin here. But yes, the fact that he's going way out to the Storm here shows that he is likely going to try to play for the other reboot off in the distance here. And it's just, again, another game where Cold and Acorn have to play this Storm. But you saw what they were able to do last time when they got back in day one. They turned it into something. And just last game as well, watching Clix and Epic Whale, when Clix picked up Epic, they turned that into nearly a victory royale. So anything can happen.
That is true.
But while we're looking at a solo Cole, I couldn't help but notice that it was Baka and Pars situated inside of fencing fields. And if it was Baka and Pars that got that elimination onto Acorn MDF, there's a high likelihood that they're going to recognize the fact there's no way Cole can make a reboot ban play inside of fencing fields. That's just going to be impossible. So they're going to hold it down. They held Cold. They forced him
Or Forever Zone.
to move even further into Storm. And now, wouldn't be surprised to see them. They're going to opt for this elevation. They might even look to just turn around, play back, and maybe even try and hold Cold and Acorn, since they already forced them into such an awkward position inside a Storm just to find that initial reboot.
I'm just so fascinated by the fact that they're both at 440 points, tied up. First place is down. This is their one opportunity to really, really take a stance here against Yamzo and Rise. And will they be able to raise to the equation, rise to the situation? That's the question here, but let's see it. Baka, Pars find themselves in a new zone here just underneath the Rift Island. Rift Island, what? Hello, teams. Welcome to the Rift Island. This is where you come for your brick, maybe even a little bit of more material, heals, and weapon upgrades. My gosh, there's so many teams up here.
Looking a little bit more like Rift Mansion at this point, with how many residents are actually trying to take place up here on top of the Rift Island. But Miro and Cooper being one of the teams. Miro taking full advantage of this height. Gonna try and apply some pressure onto the teams boxed up underneath the Rift Island. Probably just waiting out their moment. They have the launch pad. They've also got Rift surrounding them for fast rotates. And with that Flowberry Fizz, if Cooper doesn't have any crash pads, then Miro can still make a relatively safe departure off of this Rift Island.
What happened to Snapgap?
But just a slow play right now. Miro and Cooper, they're not really trying to overexpose themselves by any means. They're just looking for teams that get slightly distracted. I'm glad we can check back in though with Cole and Acorn. But keep in mind, there is a team. This is where Baka, this is where Pars, the moment they might have been waiting for. As Cole makes his way into zone, he's going to spot their boxes. already under such heavy fire, and maybe even coming from Maxo and Dolzier on the opposite end of this hill.
Yeah, a lot of shots coming in. Pressure's on. HP's low here for Cold and Acorn. They're sitting up right next to Baka and Pars. Of all the rotations that any of these teams could have made, the fact that they landed right around the same spot is concerning to say the least. But look at this. Everyone's heading west. I'm curious to see why Baka and Pars decided to go in that direction as opposed to another, but maybe it was for the rifts there. And yes, it is. They go straight for it. Everyone's off.
While it takes down
Trying to escape now at this point. I like that Cold and Acorn are going to sit back here and go for tags as opposed to rushing to the new zone, because everyone is going to be floating across. But yeah, they recognize they can't play with the zone for too much longer. Can't afford to take Storm. Players surround them. They find a rift there. Neko almost hits the tag, but Acorn gets hit before he jumps in as well. So look at this. They're below the surge now. They will have to either position up extremely strategically or land on a team. And I'm watching markers come out, so we don't really know what the decision is going to be just yet. Looks an Epic Whale are landing here, and it seems like everyone that's landing in this general area are teams that are deciding, I probably need to fight, so I'm going to stay next to all of these other teams. And the story goes on, but hey, look, the script's already been written. These guys have a chance here with Yamzor and Rise out, and this, again, might be one of the only lucky opportunities to get to line up this way, and Cold and Acorn continue to take advantage of the opportunity that has been presented before them. And my, oh my, with every step they take towards the lead, things become a little more interesting.
It's always insane to me when teams are in a moderately shambles situation, because Acorn and Cold, with how deep of a rotate they had to make from inside of the Storm, they had expended most of their white heals, but Xavi and Neko just gifting them every single resource imaginable as far as shields and white HP heals are concerned. A benefit that Clix can only wish him an Epic Whale might be so lucky to stumble upon, as they'll find a very temporary relief from that surge damage.
Baka Pars still, let's
But
go.
as soon as things tick over,
Acorn Cold, let's
you
go.
have to keep in mind they're still relatively low on their surge damage. They need to take an engagement. They don't have that many materials either, so a refresh is the utmost necessity here.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it. They've seen this happen before, where they crash pad into a team, and it works again, but Epic lets this side guard down, and the shots come in. And that's it. Epic Whale clicks. Get halted for a second. Baka and Pars, it seems like they met the same fate here. Completely different story, though. They were comfortably above the surge, and they just get deleted. You could tell that the server pressure was definitely adding to that rotate. That is so tough. And look at this now. Shots from above. Acorn and Cold are just taking full advantage of the lobby right now, of the situation at hand.
It's the fact that Cold and Acorn are even in such a favorable position in the first place, though. The fact that they didn't get held and were able to find such an immediate refresh. It's that last refresh onto Xavi and Neko balls that might actually result in netting Acorn and Cold.
But it wasn't a good enough
attempt here in this lobby, because they have materials, they have heals, and they've got everyone inside of that top three down for the count as well. So this is all the Acorn and Cold show, and seeing how far they can actually go, because they have a really strong chance to leapfrog Yamzo and Rise in that first place position here now, MDF. If they just stick to playing their game and keeping their cool.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is where it's going to happen. This is where the placement points are going to start to tumble on in. And if they can soak up a top 15, a top 10 right now, they're going to be closing in on that 500-point threshold. They'll be the first ones to really begin to break away. Kudabot and Boyo have a chance here as well, but they're going to need like a top 5, maybe better, in order to get up there and earn another 70 points. But look at this. They're starting to eye up potentially threats right here. Threats. When does he know he has a weakened wall there? Might just have Peterbot flying right on in through. Would have put it past him, but no, shots coming from down low. It's Day. Day in another endgame. Okay, I just need to see Day's points at this point. This is 3 games in a row. We're seeing him make it to mid-game, but Redux gets taken down right here. So it's going to be up to Day by himself. Either way, impressive nonetheless. 187 points from being all the way at the bottom on jumping way on up. No, that's what happens when you have those 1.5x points. Anything can happen. It's going to be tough, though. Shots are coming in here for Peterbot and Boyo. It is not looking good at all. These trades are not going in their favor, Taco. They're not finding the tags that they're hunting for right now. They're trying to force it, which, of course, is never a great recipe, but they kind of have to as well right now.
And right now, it's all about whether or not Peterbot and Poyo can actually break through, find an elimination on today, and just keep paving their path forward. As Death, Polarized, another elimination secured onto Spinks. Pump still running around somewhere because that's only one elim currently for Death. And you can see Pump now on the other side of this wall. Death seemingly doesn't seem to recognize the fact that Pump is lurking just behind him. Gotta be careful. Pump could potentially make the play of a lifetime here and double eliminate Polarized and Death if they're not careful. But it does seem as though the intention from Pump, at least for the time being, is lie low, stay hidden, and just move with the backside of the zone. Or get eliminated immediately.
Yeah, they're still adding up. They're earning points here. That's what's most important for Def and Polarized. They are now in the 400-point threshold range. This is top 10 page. This is it. This is starting to really close in. They can earn 30 or 40 more points. I mean, they'll start taking off into the top 5 conversation. Let's look at Peterbot here, who, like we just said, was struggling, but he hits the sniper shot of the day there onto Duke, who was flying across the sky and manages to avoid the incoming fire here, staying alive. And even with shots coming in from behind, you cannot stop Peterbot once he gets going here. He is determined to jump into top 5 right now.
But grappling through the center of the zone, Peterbot bound to draw the attention of other players in the lobby. You can see his HP paying the price for that faster rotation. Sure, you got somewhat ideal positioning now, but definitely needs a refresh of some form if he wants to try and maintain hanging out in the mid-ground. But if there's anybody that can get it done, Peterbot is certainly someone I would look at. And finding those 2 med kits, blessing in disguise here. Meanwhile, big stuff too from Boogs. Finding that elimination.
God.
Onto Bila.
Everything I myself is breaking apart.
Yeah, and he makes it quick and easy there too. Jumps right in, takes him down.
Fix yourself.
Picks up all the loot. No resistance there either. But, oh, misses the grapple hook. This is going to be a little dicey here, but luckily no one lands next to Aviv here. They have plenty of space to work with. Aviv sets up the 2-box for him. They're going to heal up and get right back into this game. There are fights happening above them, and Aviv says, don't heal. Let's get these points. And they go right in for it. And it looks like the points are good as they find Vanilla's there, and they pick up all that material. That's going to put them right back into the game here. And they have everything they need, but I'm looking at the zone here. It seems like it's going to bounce back. And Cold and Acorn continue to claw their way back from the depths into the stratosphere here, as they now have points here to take the lead, and they have done it. Top 15, I called it, is what they were going to need to get a 500-point threshold breakthrough, and they have done just that. But look at this. I like what Cold is thinking there.
506.
He singled out some floors.
Oh, the crash
They want to
pad.
go up, though. Oh, but a team jumps in, and the grapple comes out, and look at this, Taco. They position themselves pretty sweet here on the side of this mountain.
No, this is the perfect spot to anchor up, because halfway up the mountain face, if the zone does happen to pull back the other direction, they're still operating from that secondary height layer. It won't be too difficult for them to actually scale down the side of the mountain. Same story can't be said, though, for Bugha and Aviv. Bugha going to pick up the materials that Aviv has chosen to drop. We saw them moments ago with a massive refresh elimination, but now with Bugha being left as a solo, he can't afford to keep tarping as aggressively as he once was. Another elimination going to be found onto Polarized. It's Reet. And Cold and Acorn.
And they're both still in this. Re and Ritual are both still in this. They are literally making a comeback right now. And you have to assume that after that last game, number 8, the anger the disappointment all starting to kick in here, and they're going straight into performance mode, and you'd love to see it here as they break into the top 10. Rhea and Ritual have done it. They've managed to jump right back in and stay relevant to the standings here, but Cold and Acorn have not stopped against all odds. Peterbot sliding across. What is that? Deletes Acorn and likely Cold right afterwards. What in the world did we just watch?
Nah, what happened? You look at what happened? Action man at this point with that slide-by elimination. That was insanity.
Yeah, he got both of them. I don't see their names up anymore. Peterbot just ended Acorn and Cold, and he might have did it for, at this point, Rhea and Ritual, because they need the rooms to start closing in now. And incredible enough points here. They're gonna probably overtake Yamso Rise if they can get another elimination. If they can literally finish off this other duo, it's all or nothing, and they find Trashy. Those are worth so much. They just jumped 20 more points, by the way, for that by itself. 2v1 though. They take fall damage. Bryce is going to get the elimination credit. And Ritual could not hit the shot. And Bryce will win the game.
What a steal takeaway there for Bryce and Chubbs, though. Bryce operating as a solo, by the way, in that final moment. Just really smart. By the time that Rhea and Ritual actually turned behind them to see who's actually making their approach from the ramps that they had just jumped off of, it's just too little too late. Bryce already catching the upper hand. A little bit of tag team efforts as well, though, from Trashy, because without Trashy applying damage there onto Rhea and Ritual, that 2 versus 1 situation is a lot less likely to be won by Bryce.
Absolutely incredible win for Bryce right there in Chubbs. Bryce and Chubbs were off to a strong start. Kind of lost their momentum, but with this win here, we have seen Bryce and Chubbs do some incredible things and make big plays. And look, they won a game at Global Championships. In fact, I think they won a few games at Global Championships, and now they do it here in the grand final settings of this first chapter. So you have to really appreciate the fact that they're a team that can win. They have all the signs to be an elite squad this year.
Bryce and Chubbs, just one of many teams coming to their true form here, because it's the second day of Grands, MDF. These are these teams' last chance. And keep in mind, only the team in first will solidify their spot at LAN later on this year for the Global Championship. As for how the leaderboard's currently looking, though, we're going to have to kick it back to Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly to give us the breakdown.
Thank you guys so much. Bryce and Chubbs get themselves the Victory Royale. You saw I put in his name, Day 2 Prodigy. Some duos just come alive on Day 2. But not only that, paired up with that Victory Royale, which again, we continue to stress because of this multiplier in Day 2. This means these guys are going to be moving way up the leaderboard.
So Bryce and Chubbs on 213 points. Of course, this Victory Royale contributing a lot. But guess what place they were in coming into day number 2? They were in 49. Our eyes have to continue to follow Bryce and Chubbs as day 2 continues, because this could be the story.
They were in 49?
That this day 2 format kind of allows for, and it would be awesome to see. What a win for them.
Wow.
Yeah, they're landing near that hazy hillside, and they are contested against Seek and Dash. And we've seen the success from them, so I'm wondering if day 1 there was just a lot of issues with that 50-50 off drop, but to see them take that now, an incredible performance. So proud of them. Man, though, Rhea and Ritual, so close. I'm actually a little surprised. It looked like Bryce 1v2'd them. I'm a little confused of what exactly happened there. We've seen Rhea and Ritual have such incredible fights, and so I'm excited to see what exactly went wrong there for them. But regardless, either way, Rhea and Ritual getting a second place, and they were kind of running the low ground for most of that end game there. Definitely going to be jumping up the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, I want to see this leaderboard, man. It is going absolutely crazy here in the North America Grand Finals. Remember, Acts of Champions, Global Championship spots, both on the line. And look at this.
Didn't go that far down.
Acorn and Cold finally get out of Iamzo and Rise's shadow, and they overtake
Rituals
that
and Rhea right behind them.
#1
Let's
spot.
go.
Kelly, I love your call out of Rhea and Ritual. Because of the multiplier, if they'd gotten that victory out, just imagine how much closer, if not, they might have overtaken Acorn and Cold.
Yeah, it's so close. And here we're going to look at the run that Re Ritual had. I mean, you can see here already 8 eliminations. And once again, they peak from the middle ground, going for the high ground chop here. And it's so late that they don't even really need to focus, the late ground team. They were looking behind them. And I think that's kind of what threw them for a loop going up against Chubbs, which is just down, or I'm sorry, yeah, Bryce, just down below. They dropped down, and it's a 1v2 and an incredible run there from Bryce. It's just so quick to be able to grab those eliminations, but still, Re and Ritual with the 10 eliminations, that's going to get 60 points plus second place finish, clearly shooting them up the leaderboard. But for me, I hope we get to look at that leaderboard again, because between first and sixth place, it is such a short amount of points.
Yeah, 440 there for Baka and Pars in sixth place. Acorn and Cold currently sitting in that number 1 spot. Listen, it's Acorn and Cold's day, all right? These guys are going absolutely ham in a way that I don't know many people would have, predicted. Yeah, you predict, okay, they're amazing. But these guys have taken it to a completely different level, especially in a situation where you have to reboot your teammate. You're put on such a back foot. But for the duo, Vivid, it didn't matter. It was like they just played out their game like normal, like nothing happened.
Yeah, you were going ahead and saying there that, this is their day. I'm going to be honest, it really hasn't been. I feel like every single game that we've watched so far, we've seen, Cold multiple times in a solo situation. Multiple reboots have to happen for this duo. There have been mistakes for this duo. Honestly, it's almost impressive that they're in first place right now, because they're really fighting an uphill battle against pretty much themselves. The mistakes that they're kind of making at some points during the game are making it so much harder. But I have no idea how you can get a reboot off in an FNCS Grand Finals lobby and then make it all the way into the end game like that. I mean, it takes some serious skill. Cold also using a very intelligent play, because there was a reboot very, very close to the Storm Edge that he could have rebooted Acorn at, but no, he decided to actually go deeper into Storm, so that way nobody got the audio cue that a reboot was coming in. Very, very smart. It's those little things that are making a difference and, allowing them to kind of come back from some of those mistakes. Well done for them. First place right now.
Yeah, and I mean, this might be a repeat of what we saw from last year in Major 1 for Chapter 4. They grabbed first place, and clearly they're an incredible duo. Throughout the entire year, they never placed below 6th place in the Grand Finals. I just, like you said, I don't want to see Cold in a solo situation anymore. I want to see them survive together. I want to see them have more than 15 mats at Zone 10. I want to see them be able to pull this off, because with the lead that they already have right now, with just the perfect victory royale, they can skyrocket themselves ahead of the competition.
That's right. And this is just we're halfway. All right. This is it. We have this last half. Only a handful games left to go. Now more than ever, duos lock in, because we are fighting for a spot at the Global Championships. With that being said, we are ready to get back into more action. More Fortnite right here, right now. So let's hand it back to your casters for the next game.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that you got to take a deep breath right now and really settle in to what is going on right now. I think Vivid put it best to me, Taco, just now.
Basically,
it's not even
20 seconds.
Perfect play that we're seeing by any means by the teams inside the top 10. In fact, they are all struggling with their own little individual things. And if they can't figure it out, new teams are going to come up and take their spots.
This format has already proven it's the fact that the 1.5 times point multiplier is making for some crazy comeback story action to possibly unfold here. So as we dive into game number 10, Battle Bus set for launch.
Well, here we have it. There's only a couple of games left here now. We're past the halfway mark. We're jumping in to the late stages of this Grand Finals. And if you're Baka and Pars, I think you're pretty happy with this bus here, because it's going to favor their side. It's going to allow them to touch down and, again, likely play into their strengths, which seems to be dropping down and besting Aaron to the punch here in Chance. Chance is going to be a lot higher than Pars is, and Baka and Aaron are right there neck and neck. And look at this. Pars with the perfect drop here. Gets the weapon first, gets the finish as well. And again, all because the battle bus is closer to their drop. If there's less variability involved, they could just time it better, right? The little things really start to show you what teams are stronger, what teams have more strengths in certain areas, and Baka and Pars are taking full advantage of being contested right now when a lot of teams don't. A lot of teams crumble when they're contested, but not this duo.
No, Baka and Pars proving yet again they knew heading into today that it was going to be a scrappy one. But given how day one went for them up against the likes of Chance Aaron and several other teams, because if Baka and Pars aren't quick finding one or both of those eliminations off of Chance and Aaron, we've seen numerous times already the third-party action, the fourth party, fifth party, Baka and Pars both attesting to the fact that they were essentially getting pentaconned at their drop
What did I miss?
all day
Okay,
yesterday.
Maybe
So
a
Baka
rapid
made the
already.
proper adjustment. Seeing
Maybe
them
Batman
go
Big guys. So
3-0 on the day
above
so
them we
far,
have
though. It's gotta
Walter
be a
and
huge confidence
someone
win
else.
for sure. And confidence is something that Batman Booga is going to need a lot of. Operating as a solo currently, lost Rapid relatively early on, over by the Research Rock, and it's Dalty, it's Skater, trying to just finalize the second half of what they started. They get this elimination quickly enough onto Batman Booga. It could open up Dalty and Skater for a little bit of an easier time positioning through the mid-game because of the surge damage that they'd be able to acquire right now.
Well, the action continues here. Dalty is on the move here, playing around the outskirts. Batman Booga doesn't recognize he's there, but does throw the walls down. Dalty plays it smart as well. Couple cones there. It's all textbook here, but because they have no tags, Batman Booga and Rapid are going to get out there. But Rapid, of course, is down and out, so since he can't do anything big, it's a full-on disengage right now.
Nero Cooper.
Some teams fighting untold struggles here today. But for Cooper and Miro, it's all about just locking in. That seems to be the mentality for Cooper. As things continue, progress a little bit slower here by Pleasant
Wow, Knowles
Piazza.
actually coming
Cooper
back from
right
this.
now hanging out beachside.
After him getting top 40 last
With a
time.
chest in the sand. He is relatively split though from Miro, but with basically no
Well, on day
population
one.
nearby, it's a safe split to continue their loop path.
Got Reed Ritual here at the railways.
Bronzy on the-
team moving about their drop as well. So they do have to be extremely cautious
Yeah, they
right
just
now.
threw their FNCS. Jeez.
Danger ever so lurking close by. It's just one of those things where you never really know who's going to decide to do something a little bit different, adjust their strats. It's Pump and Sphinx who's encroaching on their territory, but now we jump in with Acorn and Cold here. Not looking to make the same mistakes they made last time up against Muzz and Paper. But instead, it's Mason and Aaron who seem to have a position advantage over them.
But see, all these teams at Fencing Fields, it's like a very steady rotation process between the teams located at Fencing and then the teams that are coming out of Ruined Reels. We've seen a handful of times now where Bacon and TK are two of the more prevalent players that have a tendency to try and rotate towards Fencing, see if they can pick up any last-minute battles, last-minute surge. Cold and Acorn, though, will make the first attempt. So they'll at least lock down the Society Medallion from Nisha.
Okay. Cold.
They've got the Vault Keycard, they've got the
Acorn,
Mythic Striker.
Don't choke
Now
this.
all Cold and Acorn realistically need to do is prevent anyone else from forcing them into a solo situation. They know that they've got to worry about Empen and Mason lurking nearby.
Back on over to Booga and Aviv here on the south portion of the map. The zone's going to favor them this time. And that's going to be nice for them here. As we know, they're a team that plays well regardless of the situation, but
I think he's got enough shield potions.
yeah, they just keep dropping out. Like, what's going on?
Booga almost looking like a loot llama there for a second. How much shield he had. And shield! Man, that's something Clicks and Epic could use.
Wait,
But
oh,
after
they just finished. Wait,
confirming
who they killed?
2 eliminations to start off game number 10 pretty
They
hot
killed.
here. Clicks has been playing out of his mind, by the way, for day number 2. But what I would like to see, MDF, is Epic matching that same pacing, matching that same standard that Clix has been operating with here today. He's the 6th time, after all. Clix doesn't have any FNCS titles of his own. He wants to find the first one here today, if possible. But it starts with Epic, honestly, needing to rise to the occasion, because Clix has been holding things down pretty heavily here today.
Look at their HP. 3 HP on Clix. Epic Whale super damaged. We jump in with Paper and Muzz right now. We're getting active here. Edgy on the run. Where's Tavern? Likely in the elimination count of Paper. He's just going for it, but the risk. He gets sent flying there by the crash pad. You have to assume that is basically mistakes were made, and you have to wonder, the sniper in hand, what all happened here? No scope needed.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, through the bush.
Okay then.
Probably the last thing that Edgy and Tavern would have expected, because it's not usually a guarantee that Paper and Muzz will even have a Reaper sniper available. Fencing Fields, if you don't get it as floor loot, Muzz and Paper, we haven't seen them really go directly for the vault here at Fencing. It's like they're down to try and find eliminations if possible, but they don't really seem all that invested as far as challenging for the vault is concerned. So the fact that Paper even has that sniper available to play with, that's likely going to make up the bulk of Muzz and Paper's surge strategy here in game number 10.
The vault's going to start to open here. It's going to give the signal to the lobby, and I'm just keeping an eye on where those players are moving.
How are they on the
inwards right now. And Bak and Pars, very interesting rotation they make. They go straight north up the beach, looking to finish things where they started with Chance and Aaron. And we kind of saw this before, where they would quite confidently chase a team up the outskirts of the map, regardless of where it positioned them. It seems like that might have been the case here. And this, and now that I think about it, Falcon, remember last time how they caught that storm sickness? It was probably because something like this or another in the storm, just like this. Yup.
This feels more personal than necessary, as
Oh my
Baka
God.
won't get the better end of the exchange either. Aaron and
Wow.
Chance, they were scot-free from Baka and Pars. Baka and Pars then chose to force the situation, not satisfied with that initial elimination they've been able to achieve to start things off here. And Aaron and Chance, the fact that they were able to turn that one around on Baka and Pars, a team that was in heavy contention for the top 5, mind you, that's going to be a very steep price to pay for Baka and Pars now, something that they might reflect on later here today. But first, got to see how the rest of this match plays out. And for Peterbot and Pollo, another box fight over the cash. But Peterbot, Pollo, they've got Xavi and Neko on the back foot here. Xavi and Neko don't really seem all that confident in trying to take this engagement up against the likes of Peterbot and Pollo, probably recognizing the fact that, hey, these guys are good with the way that they're holding them back inside these box fights.
Well, things are looking pretty tough right now for everyone here on the outskirts, is they're going to have to rotate right through Peterbot and Boyo. One thing I am noticing, though, is that Peterbot's about halfway through his material, so not the best spot to be in this early in the game. He's eyeing up, seems like, Mirror up there. But on the other side, a lot of action still unfolding here. Vive with the sniper in hand, and man, players gotta be careful not putting those walls up. It's just no other way to put it other than you kind of deserve the shot that comes in if you're that exposed and someone sneaks up on the side of you, by the way, and you don't recognize them coming. It's a pretty tough spot to be in.
But at the same time, I almost can't fault Dasharuni for that one. He gets incredibly easy. For even a second, a lapse in judgment, that's really all it takes. And Aviv, he's definitely been a very
Yeah, that's
heavy
normal.
player off
Yeah.
of this Reaper Sniper whenever he has it available to him. Being supported by Bugha as well. And now Bugha Aviv with that confirmation of limb. Ample surge damage applied. So we're going to tap back
Clicks
in
Epic
over to
Whale.
Clicks and Epic Whale's point of view. And Max Materials, very solid ammunition as far as Clicks' loadout is concerned. 6 flowberries in tow as well as a grapple blade. So mobility definitely not an issue here. But it hardly ever is for Clicks and Epic, given that they drop over by Lavish Lair. Essentially guaranteed some of the best forms of mobility from that POI.
Sniper still in hand here for Clicks right now. These 2 eliminations looking pretty nice right now. Ooh, Bila in the building here. Has to be careful. This is just so dangerous with this sniper, and this is why he has, again, some of the highest damage output that we've seen here amongst all players this weekend. Look at this. Death and Polarized sitting right up on top of Muzz and Paper's bases here. Oh, they're going to rotate. They don't even want to remain near these teams here. Very interesting.
Oh.
What's your take on this?
Well, currently, Death soaring through the skies without Polarize. Hopefully, Polarize is able to run that one back. And yeah, sure enough, will reunite with Death.
Vert.
Very fortunate that they were in a position where no one in the lobby had really started to build up. Area hasn't been super condensed just yet, but the fact that Death and Polarize did start to make the approach over towards where Vert and Yumi were boxed up. And it's a battle currently next to the Ruin Reels. Bound to draw some attention now with how many shots are being fired here. A lot of materials being spent as well. Death looking relatively low on his mat count, a lot lower than what you would want to be for the approaching point of a mid-game.
And of course, they're going to get the big sniper shot there. And one thing I just want to mention, as we kind of go through this
What did
quick
Peterbot do?
highlight here, Peterbot
He's gonna
pushes
clutch
up
this
onto
guy?
Redux, and Day, who had full
No,
control
he's gonna
here, the
headshot
Riptide
someone
Force.
again.
And it hits the most disgusting sniper shot. Peterbot is just a walking highlights reel this weekend. At this rate, if he wins the FNCS Grand Finals this weekend, he will have one of the craziest montages and reactions I think we've ever seen a duo put on. So I'm at a loss for words. I had a thought to finish about the previous duo. It doesn't even matter anymore.
Easy for things to slip the mind, but he's trying not to let game number 10 slip away from him. Nice knock onto G-Money. Will buy him a little bit of time here. Tries to go for the med kit pop, but comes under pressure yet again. It's Cold and Acorn on the side of
my
his
God,
box
dude.
now. Diego plays G-Money,
Jumps to the
recognizing
bat.
the fact that there is now a third party introduced towards this box fight engagement. Ritual not revived just yet. Reed was trying to stick it, but
Oh, this is
Cold
crazy.
Acorn, they just recognize the fact, no, this is a team that's operating now as a solo. They're going to chase down Reed, and for good reason, because Cold and Acorn, not only will it just be another 6 points towards the elimination count, but this is part of their competition for that first place position.
And that's it. They know exactly that. Looking at the feed gives them all the information they need. They see the elimination come in. They see the name pop up, and they immediately alter their demeanor. They change their entire, game plan right there, and they key down Reed without even thinking twice about it. Their immediate competition is out, and look at how things are aligning right now for Acorn, 2X, and Cold.
It's almost like the stars are definitely aligning for this duo here today.
Crazy. At this rate, can Peterbot and Pollo stop them? I mean, Peterbot, like I mentioned, is a running highlight reel right now. But their play style, what they've been doing is a lot more volatile, right? Much more like a tug of war. It's back and forth. They're explosive. They take risk where sometimes you might think it's not even needed. They're definitely different.
Peterbot's mentality 99% of the time just seems to essentially boil down to, I think I'm better than you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we see Peterbot Pollo so regularly engaging, even in situations where they don't need to. But to be fair to Peterbot and Pollo, day one of Grands, they definitely had some struggles with their search strategy. It seems the way that they've chosen to try and deal with those issues is by making plays to Rift Island, because it's 2 games in a row now that we're seeing Peterbot Pollo actually choosing to go to the top of Rift Island. And sure, maybe it's just convenient based on its location in comparison to where they were already originally rotating, but at the same time, we've seen so many teams opting to stick around that Rift Island, whether to utilize the rifts for the easy rotates towards next zone and later rotates at that. But regardless of the case, it's definitely helped Peterbot and Pollo more than what it's been a negative against them, even having to deal with a little bit more traffic on that island.
It's cool if they win, but I want to read
I'm
the
absolutely
rituals
with
away.
you. I'm just looking at a little update here from Cold and Acorn, who are only 97 above the surge, so they're going to make a quick dash here to new zone. One of the first teams to actually position up, and I find this to be super interesting that they want to play the bush here. Look at the standings. 37 points separating them from Peterbot and Pollo. Just a quick story about Peterbot. I'll never forget the fact that I came across him at the mall in Copenhagen at the Global Championships. And he had nothing but the worst things to say about all this EU competition. He is that confident when it comes down to what he's capable of and what he thinks of the general player, not only, across the seas, but around him. He truly believes he is the best in the lobby at all times. Global Championship performance, this is a different discussion for a different day. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're cold. But right now, we're seeing top-tier Peterbot.
Yeah, we're also seeing top-tier Cold. I mean, that elimination that he just acquired from across the way onto Scissor. Tragic stuff there for Chimp. Not sure if Chimp is still up in the running, but losing Scissor definitely going to be a massive spoiler into his late-game strategy. And Cold, even talking about it, ice in his veins, but this man's hands are on fire as he continues to rack up some of the shots. We saw them jump temporarily up to 300 above that damage threshold, and now yet again another dip down, just 73 above. This lobby proving to maintain hyperactivity as far as damage application is concerned. You can see even behind Acorn and Cole, Skater, Dalty. Acorn Cole gotta be careful here, but
Why
more
didn't
so
Blake
Death and
shoot?
Polarizes. They're
You
caught
are
in box fight
clear
right
any
now.
of the
They can
people
halfway.
shoot his head.
Curious to see how this is going to work out for them right now. They don't need to rush the fight by any means, but Mira and Cooper are likely to press the engagement here and pressure these walls. And look, the lobby's starting to decide to turn against them as well. You have time to work with, but Polarize gets knocked there. He makes the wrong decision. Death makes the better move to go into the storm. Kanata and Aegis come in and take them down. We've seen Kanata jump into defeat a few times today. Unfortunately, they had a very, very short day one performance. Just kind of left them out of the conversation. They managed to turn up and find better moments of success here today. Either way, though, more competition falls for Cold and Acorn. Players like Peterbot and Pollo, of course.
Cold, Acorn, bound to have been able to hear those shots coming out of the boxes behind them. They know Skater, Dalty, they're close. Probably getting the audio cues now from the grapple blades, trying to light Skater up out of the sky and pick him off before he can actually grapple his way above the hill. And now it's going to come down to Cold, to Acorn. 200 damage above. But they still got to make sure that they rotate into a nice position here in zone.
Go and rotate.
You've got Chubbs doing what he can to try and push Cold and Acorn away from him. Small tags into Cold, but he has more than enough shield to work with and more than enough protection here at Hazy Hillside where the zone has pulled towards. Some good elevation now as Cold and Acorn try to hang more towards dead side of zone.
I like this little outskirts spot that they're in. And yeah, just talking about Kanata and Ager's general performance. Look, they're at 317 points, right? Top 10 is around 400, which is one win. There's enough games in front of us to put Kanata and Ager's possibly up at the top. It just depends on how they perform. And look at this. They are just playing so exceptionally well in another set of eliminations. And in fact, if you just tally up how well Kanata and Aegis are playing right now, they're trending at around second. If it was just a one-day tournament today, they would be in second. That's just how good they're playing right now, and the points are showing it.
But can they continue to replicate it throughout the course of these remaining matches here today, MDF? Because
No.
pull it off in game number 10. They still have 11 and 12 to worry about. Although, with such a veteran team in Kanata and Aegis, that sort of experience could be the real difference maker in terms of how successfully they can match their consistency on the day.
Look at this. Look at this base. This is looking like real Chapter 1 vibes right here. Bugha and Aviv with a double ramp out metal base. Back walls, no floors. Very, very reminiscent of early Fortnite day strategy right here. But I'm for it. I'm signed up for it. We haven't seen a team really find success this early in the high ground. In fact, even teams like Clix and Epic Whale, who are going
they're
for
still
high
alive.
ground zone 8,
Oh my God.
in this round here, because all that they've gotten from it is a world of trouble and a lack of material after teams start to contest them. Meanwhile, on the low ground, though, 5 eliminations now for Cold and Acorn as they start to turn on the gas pedal here. Down goes Aaron and Chance, and Cold picks up a double elimination for his troubles here, Taco.
It's the fact that Cold and Acorn, we saw how early on they made their way towards that less congested side of zone. And that positioning is going to be the real completion factor as far as finding those next couple of eliminations. But Bugha, Aviv,
They're up there.
they weren't initially that invested into hype, but recognizing the fact that the zone had pulled relatively favorable for them at the start, now find themselves having to venture forward. They want to make sure that they maintain frontside position on that zone, though. It's going to be tough, though, especially once the grapple comes into play. These teams on the low ground might have the opportunity to just look up.
I like how Peterbot and Boy are playing this right now. Front side, staying far in ahead here, not looking to get into any enemy territory. Breaking all boxes, playing extremely safe. Just textbook. This is the one thing top tier pros do better, is managing to stay and stick to the basics here are what's going to allow you to excel. And look at this, reading the zone perfectly. They get the essentially get the next pool here. Meanwhile, Aviv and Bugha on high ground, continuing to put this top-down pressure. Clix and Epic Whale have also elevated themselves up to second height. Are they trying to go for a late game take? It's looking like it could be a potential play there in the books. Don't count them out. But on your screen right now, you are watching the 2 greatest duos in the lobby right now. Pace ahead.
But Peterbot and Pollo, these are all their pre-existing builds. They've been on the low ground, tarping their way out for so long. Mud's paper, they gotta be careful not to get themselves fully boxed here. But Peterbot, Pollo, Chance slips away. They're gonna have to hold out just a little bit longer for their next opportunity there in the low ground. But Epic, Clix, Epic forced into the med kit now. As he waits for Clix to also look for an opportunity to get a little bit more HP regen. Empen, though, might not have spotted out that Epic Well's there. Epic Well just going to finish off that med kit and possibly look for an opportunity for elimination points onto Empen. Empen with no shield, by the way. He's going to try to grapple up through the high ground just to catapult himself to the front side of zone, but immediately Bugha senses that one out, takes Empen down.
Oh, here they go. Acorn and Cold spring their way all the way up to the top and break the pills from underneath Bugha's feet there. And Aviv and high ground is there. And they get to reconnect to the old builds. It couldn't work any better for them. Bugha lurking on the backside here, edging his way in, looking up. Aviv hasn't quite given it up. He didn't want to commit down low just yet, but Bugha makes the call and they have to. And Acorn, Cold come down now. This is their game to win at this point, but they will have to fight for it. Meanwhile, Epic Whale from the zone continuing to heal his way through it here. Amira Cooper is still standing there. Taco Cooper's in the zone.
All Epic wants to do is keep a low profile. Every placement counts at this point for him and Clix. But Pollo,
oh my gosh,
massive shot there onto Sphinx. That's going to be an instant knock.
Right under him.
Can't find Pump though just yet. Instead, Pollo's got to keep his eyes focused on what's directly in front of him. This mid ground
Keep the
not
mind
safe
focused.
just
Behind
yet.
him. Oh, he doesn't even know there's a player behind him, but it doesn't matter. He finds Aviv here, who gives up the high ground. The zone takes down Pollo before he can earn more points, which is so unfortunate. Booga's already down. Aviv on the low ground here. Player falls in and also gets eliminated to the storm there. And just like that, Aviv gets granted with some mats, but it's Cold and Acorn who will surely take this win right now and break away with a monstrous lead here.
And this is the kind of breakaway that might just be devastating to all of our other teams inside of that top 5 currently, because Acorn and Cold, the way that they overshot Aviv and Booga to forcibly
As soon as they
remove
took high ground, I
the
knew they
high
were
ground
gonna
from them. We saw
Anybody that
Aviv
takes high
desperate
ground
to try and hold
and
on,
holds
but
it is
it was
gonna
just
win.
too much pressure. Acorn and Cold absolutely recognizing the fact, hey, high ground's distracting.
That's their, what was that, their
And
third
the
win?
fact that they could pounce upon it so quickly as well, like the attempt though from Quanti, just not gonna be enough.
You know, he really did try, but take a look here. Acorn does hit the shot there in the end. A 9 elimination victory royale is just incredible, especially when you are entering into the game in the lead, right? So now all of a sudden, second place fell early, third fell early, and that's just all the room that they needed at that point to continue to really run with this. But you know what? I think we're going to see some more top 10ers start to shake it up now.
That might be the idea, but first of all, we got to see just how much of a lead Acorn and Cold were actually able to accrue in this last lobby, MDF, and who better to tell it than Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly.
Well. This is what happens when Vivid decides to impart some knowledge to a duo, halfway through the competition. He's like, hey, Acorn and Cold, you guys just fix a couple of these things. They're like, oh, sorry about that, Vivid. Sorry about that. We're going to do that right now. And suddenly, victory royale, the very next game. 9 eliminations on these guys. Vivid, I'm very proud of them. And I'm very scared for everybody else because these guys have now created a lead that all they have to do is hang on to. And these could be the first duo going to global championships from NA.
Oh, Zeke, you mean the first game on the day where they haven't had to reboot, or Cold hasn't been a solo from 7
Alright,
zone,
chat, I'll be right
trying
back.
to clutch up some points? Yeah, it's the one that they go ahead and win. Kelly, what a high ground retake. I was even watching and I was like, wait, what are they going to do right now? They're going to go up? Why are they going to go up? And then it's it just ends up working. Booga and Aviv drop down a little bit. They notice that. They go to the layers just above where Booga and Aviv just were. So smart out of Acorn and Cold.
I definitely think that Booga and Aviv were separated there. We saw that they were just using wood build, so that's usually a pretty good indication that it's time to steal height. I'm just so happy that we got to see Acorn and Cold do that together. Like you were just saying, we always see them go solo, and that's typically when Cold stays on the low ground, which obviously, if you're a solo player, you're not going to try and steal for height. But here we have it. And honestly, from the beginning, they were doing a pretty good job. They grabbed 2 eliminations pretty early on, although they were only 50 above Storm, and that was after taking down Reed, who was already pretty low. So even though grabbing eliminations, that's not an indication that they're not going to have issues with Storm Surge like we're seeing right here. However, with those long-range shots from Cold, not an issue anymore.
How comfortable as a player do you think Cold is right now, Zeke, when he can just have that mythic AR every single game? That's such an advantage that we kind of overlook sometimes. Oh, and there's that high ground. We take a look at that. The Flow Berry effect right there activated. The grapple blade just launching them all the way up to those old builds. I guess that's free high ground. I didn't even see it. Acorn and Cold somehow did, and that was the game-winning play.
And why did this happen, friends? Something we've touched on a little bit. It's because they decided to go for the high ground later in the zones, right? You're in 12th zone, but everybody else are fighting over these high ground in 9th and 10th zones. But this is it. This is how you win the game right here.
Yeah, but it's harder said than done. Like I said, I mean, the call, the awareness to go ahead and make this play, you need to have a lot of awareness, understand a lot, and Acorn, IGL, Cold, very experienced. They just got it.
It was such a good run, and we knew that they could do it. We've seen Acorn and Cole do this so frequently. They got first place out of the most recent Cash Cup. They got first place in the first major from last year, so it seems like history might be repeating itself.
2 games left to go here in NA. Let's look at these standings.
Oh.
Now, of course, no question, these guys are currently in first place, but by how much? I'm sorry, that's a 100-point lead these guys have. Okay, listen, Peterbot, Pollo, okay, Bugha, Aviv, guys, we need to band together, okay? We need to pull out all the stops. We need to slow these guys down. They have created a massive lead. Now, of course, because these guys are basically uncontested, they just have to keep doing what they're doing, and this lead could potentially get bigger.
Yeah, 100%. They, of course, have a giant lead over second place. Second and third are very, very close, Kelly. But Bugha and Aviv, after that great game right there, they have established a 66-point lead of their own over fourth place, who is in Reet and Ritual. With only 2 games left, not a lot of opportunities for some of these teams to catch back up to even top 3 at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Ritual and Reet, who were in a good position last game, they did go down a little early to Cold and Acorn, and that is the worst. If you're going to go down, you don't want to go down to the first place team. But we still have 2 more games, 2 more opportunities for duos to be able to take on the Titans of Acorn and Cold, or to just pull out a strategy that we haven't seen yet, potentially make it to the end game and grab a victory royale, but only time will tell.
I mean, there's a big lead. I still think it's anybody's game, though, Zeke. These 1.5x points, 100 points for a Victor Royale. There's a lot that can happen.
Man, it could come down to that single Victor Royale. Could be the difference maker in sending a duo straight to the global championships. 2 games left to go, so let's get back into it with our casters. It's the best Taco and Monster D-Face.
Well, that's right. Anything is possible. You see the top 10 now, Taco, a clear, definitive breakaway from our, I would say, top 3 teams right now, as we have game 11 and 12 in front of us. But a lot of new teams are jumping into the top 10. I counted about 3 or 4 new squads now are on that front page.
But even with the lead that Acorn and Cold managed to develop for themselves after that last lobby performance, MDF, you can't ever, you don't want to count your chicks before they hatch, essentially.
Right.
They've put down what they needed to get off on the right foot, but at the same time, a Victor Royale alone worth 100 points. And if Acorn and Cold get Eland relatively early on, that could change the narrative just a little bit here as far as contention for first place is concerned. But with the second to last lobby, game number 11 on the horizon here, MDF, I think the main focus for not just Acorn and Cold, but a lot of these teams in the lobby is going to be to maintain your composure. You don't want to find yourself autopiloting as we head into match number 11 of the day.
That's right. You have to remain focused here for game number 11. Autopilot is not going to be enough here, not against the sharpest minds Fortnite has to offer here. And I made this analysis before, but I'm going to say it again. This is a favorable bust likely for Baka and Pars, who have really, really cemented themselves a solid top 10 footing, even after yesterday's performance where they gave up a couple rounds, but get to watch it here. They go for something slightly different. And it's going to be get a weapon, take the launch pad, and then get a more favorable angle here to touch down before Chance and Aaron. I wouldn't be surprised if Baka touches down right on top of this player again here. And of course he does, but he misses the shot he was looking for, and Pars gets melted out the sky from the duo. I believe that was looking inwards. Oh, this is a huge, huge ask right now of Baka, and no, he couldn't get the heels off in time, and Baka and Pars they really did have the strategy, but the unforeseen additional duos ruined it all.
And that's the problem with their current drop. Even if they make it out against Chance and Aaron, they still have to worry about Xavi and Neko taking advantage of shooting them from across the way. So definitely a very unfortunate demise there, though, for Baka and Pars. Keep in mind, in fact, how that last lobby went. Chance and Aaron, again, seeming to be the common denominator here. because Baka and Pars, they wanted those eliminations so badly to start things off, but just find themselves being eliminated instead by a completely separate team, just about giving that third-party assistance there for Chance and Aaron. And something else kind of wanted to point out here in terms of Acorn and Cold, it's that notice they've been much less aggressive with going for that vault and taking out Misha right away.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing some adjustment come into place, but you know, sometimes that lack of confidence, but instead the hesitancy can work against you when you start doing something a little too different, too passive. But first, let's wrap this fight up here with Dash and Seek, who are getting a bit active right now.
Bryson
And
Chubbs.
of course, J2 Prodigy and Bryce right now. And pretty solid swinging around here. We already know Chubbs here picked up that victory out alongside Bryce. Like we mentioned, this is for sure the team to look out for as far as
Seek and Dash.
big up-and-comers for this year, leading up to the Global Championships. But right now, Shieldbreaker has to come out in desperation there. It does end up connecting, but it's not looking too good here. See, what we saw Cold do in this situation, right, when his teammate was down, he just gave it up all the way, came back later. But then you have, like, newer teams like Bryce and Chubbs, maybe not exactly having that type of discipline in their playbook just yet. And we'll see as they continue to develop throughout the years. Congrats to Dash and Seek on winning the drop. Back on over to Eomzo and Rise, who are in and likely hungry to earn some points right now.
Got a lot of ground to make up for, fighting a battle very unique to just them in comparison to everyone else in this lobby, but Eomzo and Rise, we know that they are capable of that level of greatness. They already got a taste from yesterday, having been in that first place position to start the day off, and you know that they're going to want to reclaim that spot, and especially the title of being Acts of Champions, both seeking out their first one. But yeah, with the amount of points that Acorn and Cold have been able to build up in the meantime, it's certainly going to be a very difficult ask, but it's a journey that Eomzo and Rise are already committed to embarking upon, and now it's just the hopes of them being able to play it out, see what they can make happen from their current situation.
Yeah, the real anomaly for top 5 is the fact that Acorn and Cold have 200 or 100 points ahead of second and almost 200 across from everyone else. So unless something goes terribly wrong in one of these two games, then there's just not going to be an opportunity to close the distance there. But they are triple contested. So like we said, you literally cannot count them in as a winner just yet. This game, next game, still triple contested.
The real difference maker for Acorn and Cold has honestly just been the fact that they've been in positions, both in games 10 and 9, where realistically they should not have been able to make it as far into an endgame as they did. But they just took full advantage of every opportunity and have found a way to minimize mistakes as much as possible here in day number 2. Aside from the fact that they found themselves in a solo occasion, the successful reboots into recovering enough to then find ideal positioning in later games, that alone is definitely a testament to just how strong of a duo Acorn and Cold are.
One thing I really like about Cold, I feel like he, for me personally, right, from like what I've gathered from his playstyle, he is exceptional with the shotgun. It reminds me of TSM's Commandment. Commandment used to go by the moniker, you know, the nickname, essentially 200, just like Saf, 200 Punk, right? Like they were always putting that in their name because they were just that dangerous with it. And Cold, man, I know he doesn't flex how good he is because he's very humble, but he is good.
Actions speak louder than words most of the time, and Colt's performance 99.9% of the time. It definitely, and more than enough to back up that kind of statement. A little bit of trouble here, though. More towards
Noxie versus
the
Oliver.
north side of the map. Far
Or Noxie
northeast,
too.
even. Noxie, Crisp, up against Asian Jeff.
Jeff and
Oliver OG.
Oliver.
No other teams in sight, though, so third party, probably least of their concerns, but both of these teams expending a good amount of materials. Seems as though Noxie and Crisp, they really want to commit towards this engagement, given how much they've already opted to use up here. They're going to need that siphon materials out of Oliver OG or Asian Jeff, and vice versa, Oliver OG, Asian Jeff. They probably want to force this engagement. Noxie already kind of hovering near that launch pad because, as you can see, Asian Jeff eating a good amount of damage. Shield's not fully intact. Noxie now trying to see if he can creep around, find a nice angle into the box of Oliver OG, Asian Jeff. Gonna get the markers from where the pickaxe is coming through. Oliver OG, Asian Jeff just trying to reclaim some of the space inside of this box fight. But again, if Noxie and Crisp, if they don't act soon and close this engagement off, it's going to make things incredibly tough for them to try and challenge for a forecast tower or even a combat cache.
Yeah, I like the discipline here, though, from Noxie and Chris to play the distance with all this extra AR ammunition that they have to use. But they're going to disengage, get a couple tags, and they committed a lot of brick and wood there. Once they start digging into the metal, you can see things start to change. Jump over to Death and Polarize, though, who jump in on Snacky and Possess. But a monstrous shot comes in return, and Death now has to play for the zone save here to bring Polarize back into this game. That did not go the way they wanted it to. Surely is going to be a setback here. And unlike Cold and Acorn's save, they have to go to the nearest reboot, right? So very likely that other players are going to see what's happening here. There's just no time to waste.
Kind of bold, though, by Polarize to just be fully exposed and just so convinced, yeah, there's nobody looking in my direction with a sniper. I can definitely just look for my own search tags. So maybe a little bit more necessity towards proceeding with caution. Go a long way there for Polarize, but good looks by Death. At least he's able to confirm the reboot. Now it's just about covering the ground to get towards that next zone. Have to expect that Death and Polarize are also going to have to be fighting the battle of getting their surge up, given that they don't have anybody nearby. So, pretty good chance that they're going to be slightly below that surge damage threshold if they're not able to pick something up quick. And that's the mentality here now from Aviv and Bugha. We've seen this team have more than one elimination even through the mid-game into the late, but still a little bit of struggles, just barely managing to maintain over on that surge damage threshold. Surge just being the number one opponent currently for a lot of these teams in the mid-game.
Yeah, definitely. But Bugha Bro is on something. Those double ramps, he just keeps pulling them out. But hold up, we jump in here. Sphinx grapple hooking right into a bush that is housing two opponents lurking nearby. They couldn't get the finish or the box appears. Jagveer, TBC, LeBron. So a little reset's going to happen here. Interested to see why they didn't commit to pushing into the box, but now it's just too late. They've given them way too much time here for Sphinx and Pump to go ahead and heal up. Everyone else is going to be on the move.
Looked like Vanillas and Convict were also local to that exchange. Could be part of the reason why LeBron and Jagveer opted to just pause for a second there instead of rushing right in. But still probably an engagement that a more experienced duo would have 100% opted to take. I mean, you get a shield break like that. It's a massive tag for Sphinx and Pump to have to worry about.
Looking for another snipe shot. We've seen this happen time and time again, and he actually misses for once. You see him line it up, though, you know? You know something bad's coming to whoever's on the other side of the bullet.
It makes you think.
Definitely does. Here's Acorn and Cold back on the move right now. And, of course, we're going to be continuously following these top teams right now as we're starting to situate ourselves up for what will be the finale here of the FNCS Grand Finals for NA. This is Game 11. This is the day where points are worth 1.5x, placement even more, eliminations matter even more. Your performance today is much more important. Take a look at the big rotate here from Ria Rich, where they take the crash pad right through the middle of the map there. Don't get caught out for it. Even now, they're exposing themselves to Acorn and Colson. You have to be careful here. Rich, we're not taking any chances. Pre-dropping some walls. It's definitely the right play to make.
Given that Reckless Railways is Ritual and Reed's backyard, since this is their initial starting point off drop, they're likely going to have a pretty good idea of what boxes were or weren't already existing on this side of the map. So, yeah, definitely some strong awareness coming out of Ritual. Spots out the little boxes that Acorn and Cold had set up base not too long ago. And we saw Acorn and Cold getting a little bit of pressure from behind, but it's actually just going to be Chance and Aaron on the receiving end. Easy elimination there for Cold to get onto Aaron. A little bit of material pickup as well. Shield potion. Gonna get Cold back to practically full shield. Only gonna be too short. That's not too bad though.
Rise and Yams will get caught out. Unfortunately, they're trying to grapple hook away from a duo. They don't earn any points this game. It's Trashy and Threats who catch them on the rotate there. That's unfortunate.
I keep dying.
Game number 11 for them.
Hello.
Acorn and Code, who are on the hunt right here.